Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Oh!
And here we are!
You dirty
Boy,
dog.
God, look at that mustache.
Bull pulled a fast one on us this morning, man.
Super Mario, Super Bros.
It looks like Mario ate Luigi.
Hey, Luigi.
You know what? You don't look like a pedophile, so congratulations for that.
It's borderline, but thank you.
Hey, oh no, oh yeah.
You're one of them.
Actually, I like it. You look like an old relief. You like if David Wells came out of retirement today to throw a
All right,
baseball
I'll take
game.
No, you look like
I like it.
You look like you're showing up at my house to fix a clog in the plumb.
Yes.
You look
that's
like a
true.
plumber.
My wife was horrified. My son liked it. I said, because a couple of weeks ago, we put a picture up of me in high school, and I had like this little, thin mustache, and somebody said, "Oh, you got to do that again." And I was like, "I haven't had just a mustache since high school."
My goodness.
And I said to my wife this morning, I said, "I'm shaving it all. I'm leaving the mustache, and I'm going to wear a mask." So for folks you don't know, I've been wearing a mask for the whole half hour I'm here, saying I had a cold.
And I see him in the bathroom with a mask, and I'm like, "You all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm just not feeling well. I'll take it off for the show." And I'm thinking, well, it's kind of weird. You're gonna, all right, whatever.
exactly.
Like,
That's
hey,
what I was
I
like.
learned a long time ago. Don't
And
question
Bull yells
masks,
at
man. Just
anybody
let it
who
go.
comes in the studio
Yeah.
with even the slightest sniffle,
There you go. There's the mustache.
that
That's
they should
right.
not be here.
That's right.
They should be wearing a mask.
Right.
If you even around
If
Bull,
you
he's like,
sneeze in the
he's
morning,
like, get
don't-
out,
don't show
be here.
up.
And
Yeah.
he has every right to, because
Yeah.
his wife is going through some issues, some health stuff.
yeah.
So you're totally in the
And-
right.
and-
But he came in, and I spent 20 minutes being
Yeah.
like, "Bull, you're a hypocrite. How dare you?"
Right.
And
They
it was
killed
because
him.
You
There
were,
you go.
You were
There's-
playing us.
There's
Good job.
teenage me.
He literally just took the mask
And
off
there's
right
current
before
me.
the show.
Man, I hate it. Yeah, I'm glad you guys like it. I think it looks so weird. I got to decide if I'm going to shave it off before my Little League game tonight.
Oh
You get
yeah,
arrested.
if you're gonna be around kids, you probably
I
should.
probably
shave it.
should, right?
Oh my God.
What'd you say? I might be arrested?
If you show up with that mustache around 3 dozen sub 10-year-olds,
You know what you should
that
do?
could lead
If you
to
keep
some
the
issues.
mustache, you should find like a passenger van with no windows on it and drive that to the game. You'll definitely be
Then I'll be
arrested.
100% arrested. There was speaking of mustaches, real quick, before we get into more serious things. One time, my son, when he was like 5 or 4 or something, he had what turned out to be, the croup. We have a terrible cough.
Yeah.
And it's scary when you first
Sure.
you're a new parent. And we took him to the emergency room, and the guy who was doing the treatment on him had this thin mustache with like the Raleigh fingers curls. And it's like, how do I not stare at this guy's mustache? I mean, like I'm trying. My wife is like hitting me not to laugh. I want to crack up, and it's like, you wear a silly mustache only, especially with curls at the end. You know, you pay the price.
What do
for
you
that.
think's gonna happen?
But I held it together. Anyway,
But before we move on,
yeah.
we're going to do a PCC read real quick because the chat's roasting you, and I'm going to read you some
Love
chat
it.
roast. If our today's roast, and this is off the top, we're just going to do this live, and I'm going to miss some, I'm sure, but whenever we read internet comments, and today it is Roasting Bull's Mustache, it's brought to us by our good friends at PCC Airfoils. You're looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? Well, PCC Airfoils is the leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn
Should I
more.
let it go longer? I wonder if I cut it off too short there. I don't know.
I'm just gonna read a couple.
Go.
I'm gonna read
Hear
a
it.
couple, as many as I can find in the next minute and a half. Insane Overlord says you look like Paul Blart. Lawrence Goggins says Policeman Bull. The April says, hey, look, it's time to make the donuts. I guess you look like a donut maker. Tom
it's from the
DePore says
The Dunkin' Donuts
commercial
commercials back in the day.
Tom DePore says he looks like a 1980 sports writer. Lawrence says Bull looks like he gets donuts and coffee for free on the shift. Kenny Miller says that's definitely fake. Joel Dine says Lieutenant Bull. Evan 419 says Bull looks like the regular at the local strip joint who eats there every Taco Tuesday. SCR429 says
Yo.
it's a front and back mullet. The April, Colonel Hogan, I see no thing. Lawrence says, Bull, please recite the Miranda rights. William says, Bull looks like Norm from Cheers.
Yes.
Lawrence says, nah, Bull, you getting in a van right now is dangerous.
Yeah.
Bull looks like Zach Galifianakis in a political movie.
Galifianakis.
Sorry, that's from Eddie.
Yeah.
Someone called Chris Hansen.
So can you come? Can you
Soul
come?
Train says it looks like your creepy drunk uncle.
Oh, yeah.
Michael T says mustache rides for all. And Michael says, what is Bull doing? If we see some more, we'll save it for the end of the show. Earl, you got one? What's up?
Bull look like the plumber from that one episode of Martin. It's called Dead Man Flesh. I'm gonna pull up the video. You gotta watch.
Yeah, I gotta
it.
see the guy.
And last one, Set Apart Laz says if we don't get Hopkins, it's definitely because he saw Bull's mustache. So, thank you to the chat. That was an unprecedented. And last one, JD King of the Smoke Ring says Bull's the new Mario brother. I see. It's kind of like a Jewish Wario.
I'm Angelo. I'm gonna go by Angelo, right?
You did have a lot of the Bear skit. George Wayne on the Bear skit on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
It's
the Bears.
Yeah.
He got
the Bears.
It's a little Mike Holmgren in that mustache too. It's a little Holmgren in that.
So shout out to the chat. You guys are undefeated as always. If we
Love
see
it.
some more, we will roast
Love it.
him.
Keep roasting me. I think these are really funny. On a much more serious note,
listen, you make the transition. I'm done.
Much more serious note. Obviously, it came out yesterday that Jim Donovan is suffering from leukemia. He was re-diagnosed. It's been a while, but he just announced it yesterday. There you go. Obviously, WKYC. Jim Donovan announced that he's once again battling leukemia. As someone who obviously has a wife battling leukemia, I certainly sympathize with Jim. I know you guys all do. We all know him. So, you probably know him better than we do. I know Jim a little bit. You know Jim a little bit. But obviously everybody's rooting for him. We know him as the great radio voice of the Browns, and he's done a magnificent job at that for years. He's been in the business for years. What else can you say? I wish him all the best. I hope he gets well soon.
Yeah.
Leukemia is a hell of a battle, and hopefully he'll come out on top.
Yeah, this was a gut punch. I didn't see it live. I saw Twitter exploding with it a little bit, and I went and found the clip, and it was hard to watch Jimmy try and get through the telecast last night and talk about it. He knows what's ahead of him. Let me tell you, Jimmy Donovan is as good of a guy as he is a broadcaster, and tough as nails too. People don't realize how sick he was the first time around and just fought through it and kept showing up to do Browns games and kept showing up to go on the air. I texted him last night and told him everything that you would expect, a friend to say, and told him go fight, win. And beat this thing again, and he will. I have full confidence that he will. He's so tough. It's incredible the way that he can battle this thing. I grew up watching Jimmy on TV. I was a teenager when he first came to Cleveland, and I told him to teenage me to be able to have Jim Donovan's number and to text him and call him a friend. I've gotten to know him quite a bit over the last couple of years since I started being more involved in Browns coverage, and even back to my days on the Cavs. I just loved chatting with him at Browns practice, just about anything and everything. Just a terrific man, a family man, a husband, a dad. And Jimmy, we're praying for you. We're fighting for you. And go fight and win, buddy, because we know that you will.
Jim, I worked with the Browns Radio Network before I was doing any on-air stuff. I was working with Jim doing the in-game broadcast. So I would produce, and we talk about going to break and just running the show doing that. And so he was always nice to me, always gracious to me. For a guy to be the voice of the Brown, to call you out and to always congratulate you when, he would see me doing shows or hear about me. So he was just always a super cool guy, an individual who, is pretty much probably the biggest. Him and Tom Hamilton, we're kind of, definitely, we are spoiled to have those caliber broadcasters. But prayers go out to his family, especially fighting this. He's beat it one time. I know I can't wait to, hear Jay tomorrow kind of talk about it because, Jay has worked with him intimately at KYC for a long time. So prayers go out to Jimmy Donovan in his fight with leukemia, and we're just wishing and hoping for the best for him.
And as G said, you'll hear more about it. I mean, obviously everybody's talking about it right now. You'll hear more about it tomorrow when Jay is on tomorrow's show. For now, we'll get to the lighter side of things and get to some sports.
Yeah, and we'll start with some Browns OTA observations. Jason was there yesterday, and those are brought to us by Jason's alma mater, Lorain County Community College. If you want to be like Jason Lloyd later in life, a curmudgeon
Don't do that.
with RBF at all times, but one of the best in the business of what you do, you should check out Lorain County Community College. Your class is your future. Register now for summer and fall classes. You can learn more at loraincccc.edu for all that
What is the
information.
name of the sports teams, by the way, at Lorain County Community College?
Commodores.
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 So, Jason, you were at OTAs
This
yesterday.
is my resting bitch face,
There
so
it is.
I'll smile. This is the only way I can smile.
Myles Garrett not there.
Yeah.
Any scuttlebutt about that at all? Is there any reason? Like, there's no.
No,
There's not any anger with the team or anything.
No,
like
I don't
that,
think
right?
so. I mean, next week's mandatory, so I assume he'll be there next week. I've said my piece on it. You know, I think G and I disagree on it. It's not about Myles. It has nothing to do with if Myles is going to be ready for the season. Of course, Myles is going to be ready for the season. My only point is, if you're leader of the team, you're leader of the defense. We all know what's at stake this year. We all know how important this season is. It's a new scheme. It's a new defensive coordinator. Just show up. Just be there.
Yeah.
And I kind of cut him a little bit of slack last week, thinking, okay, maybe he'll be there this week. Well, he wasn't here again. So, to me, that's not leadership. Yeah. Leadership is showing up and being there for your guys. I understand it's voluntary, but if it's important for everyone else to be there, it should be important enough for you. I don't care that anyone else is missing. I don't care if they're there or not. He's the one, if you're the leader of the defense, you need to be there.
Well, Watson you'd care about. But
Watson, of course. Yeah, as the
Gee,
as
I
the
know you
offensive
disagree
leader.
on that. You don't care that he's not there.
Well, no, I think also too, you know, he did have a toe injury. Like, you know, he did have an injury coming off the Pro Bowl. I don't know if I expect him to be fine. I just look at it, to me, it's not that big of a deal. It wouldn't be that big of a deal if he was there, to me, because, you know, at the end of the day.
But if you had your choice, be there or not be there, wouldn't you rather him be there?
Sure, you know, sure. If it was a perfect world, well, yeah, I would like to have 100% attendance at these different things. But I also understand the game. You know, Jimmy Johnson once said, everybody, I'm going to treat you fairly, but everybody ain't equal. If Troy Aikman is in the back of the classroom and he's sleeping, I'm going to tell somebody to tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, wake Troy up. Right. But if you a fifth-round pick or you an undrafted guy, I'm going to wake you up and tell you cut. At the end of the day, there's always levels to it. It's, you know, obviously, if you the more prominent of a name you have, the more productive you have, the more leeway you have. It's just that way in life in general. You know, I don't think it'll play any bearing on whether the Browns will win championships or win games this year. You know, would you like to see them there? Sure, coaches probably will, but I don't think they're even tripping on it.
Let's talk about some other things, Jason. We'd heard last week maybe Deshaun Watson, his first OTA, wasn't the sharpest.
Didn't go well. Yeah.
How about yesterday? Did
he was
look
better.
any better?
Yeah, he was better yesterday. I wasn't there last week, but from everyone I talked to, he was awful. Like, you can't overestimate how bad he was last week. Much better yesterday. Connected with Goodwin on a couple of deep balls. There's one of them right there. Seemed to go through. Catch. Yeah, it was a great catch. He hit him on an earlier deep ball in a game. I don't know. It was pretty slow developing. I don't know that it actually would have been.
Right.
If
that's
it
why
would
you
have
can't
worked.
get carried away about any of
Right,
stuff.
but the throw is on target.
Yeah.
And that's what you're looking for right now. You know, in these 7-on-7 drills, and, you know, we were talking with Mike about it last week, and he said it's sort of like a quarterback's pro day, and he's right.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like when Ohio State plays Youngstown State. You better win by 50. You better look good because there's no excuse not to. And he was better yesterday. He did throw the pick. He threw one into triple coverage. Jacob Phillips picked him off and took it back. So there's a couple things here and there. He missed a couple throws here and there. But for the most part, he looked significantly better than what the reports were last week. And that's really what I spent most of the time watching yesterday.
Right.
Was just Deshaun. That's the only thing I really wanted to see was how does he look? Where's the timing at? Is he hitting guys, particularly downfield? Alex Van Pelt talked after practice yesterday about chunk plays, throwing the ball down the field. It's something that's been missing. It's really a point of emphasis this year is driving the ball down the field and that those big play opportunities. And we saw that with Elijah Moore lining up all over the place in the slot outside. They're looking for opportunities to get him the ball, quick passes, let him create. I think that will translate. You're going to see that carry over into the season. It's just a speed weapon that really they haven't had before. And so that's just another little curious thing to watch as this goes, is where does Moore really fit? He fits, But I'm just saying, where is the best use of his speed, and how do you just get the ball in his hands and let him go make a play?
Finally, Bull.
Some speed.
Finally, we got some speed. Now, when I was watching that play right there, you can always tell there's levels to this, man. This is chess, not checkers. This dude just split the defense and ran. Look at this. Look at it. Ran right past somebody. Now, we can say this is practice. It is practice on shorts or whatever the case may be. I get that. But when you watch the separation that this guy has, I'm like, finally, we got somebody that can run past somebody. Now, when we talk about the deep game, I'm going to compare this a little bit to the Guardians. We talk about all the time how difficult it is for the Guardians to string together hits and singles against power pitchers, dominant pitchers to score runs. The Cleveland Browns are a lot like the Guardians in past. When you watch the Browns offense, it was like pulling teeth to get chunk plays. You 5-yard sit-down routes. Remember, we used to say they go 5 wide just to throw a hitch to Hooper.
Yeah, right.
You're like, dude, what are we doing? Is that we gonna open the game with that? Now you talk about the emphasis is put on throwing the ball deep, spreading out the defense. You have to threaten people vertically in the league, not east and west, north and south, because once you can actually pinpoint and actually threaten those guys vertically. Now all the other stuff open up. Now you get to underneath routes. But when you consistently going underneath to these little aspirin tabs and these little check down Charlies, that look good. Your completion percentage looks great, but you're not gonna win no games in the big games when you talk about doing that. The Bengals and guys can when they can hit Jamar Chase, that's devastating because now that's 7 instead of 3, or they stop you later on in the drive.
Yeah, I mean, the big play has been missing from the Browns. That can make a huge difference. Obviously, it doesn't take a genius to know that big plays make it easier to score. I mean, you're going down the field quicker. The more plays it takes you to get down the field, the more chances of a penalty or a bad play that sets you back. Jason, going back to yesterday specifically, besides Deshaun Watson, was there anything of note that happened? I don't know. Anything.
The most curious thing, I think, was Denzel lining up in the slot on a number of occasions.
Okay.
And he said after practice that's something that'll probably continue into the season. So that's just something. I mean, we always just sort of assumed that Newsom was going to be the slot corner. But
interesting. What?
Sure. I don't have a good explanation for you other than.
I mean, Ward got paid already, so maybe he doesn't care.
I think honestly, I think it's a new defensive coordinator, and he just wants to. I mean,
see things.
Schwartz was on the field during the plays. Like I've never seen that before. Like he was on the field, standing next to the center while they were running the plays, and he said like, hey, he's new here. He wants to hear what they're saying.
Right.
He wants to make sure that they're
communicating
very much
well.
Yeah, and
I like that.
Jim
That's
Schwartz.
good too,
Jim Schwartz
I
is
like
very
that.
much from. Listen, this is a very short amount of time we've had around him.
Yeah.
But he's a feel guy. Like he needs to feel it. He likes to feel it. He's already said he likes to be on the sideline.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like the
I like
defensive
that.
coordinator to be on the sideline because he said he wants to be able to communicate with guys and talk to guys.
Right.
And he
Sure.
he said there's a difference when you look a guy in the eyes, you say, hey, can you cover him? Yeah, I got him. Or, yeah, I got him. And, like, you could just being there and being around them, touch and feel them. He's very much a touch-feel kind of coordinator, which I think is good. And he could just be getting a look at Denzel in the slot. But that was one interesting thing that I noticed.
Aren't most DCs on the sideline?
A lot of them are, but not all of them.
Yeah,
Somewhere
I would
in the
definitely.
booth.
I couldn't imagine being in the.
I mean, it
know,
used to be
like-
back in the day. The OC was always upstairs and the DC was always on the field.
Right.
Now it's sort of
Yeah, and if
mixes
the
around.
coach, I mean, like the coach is the OC essentially. So Alex Van Pelt could be in the.
But Van Pelt's on the sideline.
Right, I'm saying, but in theory he could be.
I
I think it's good for the coordinators to be down there.
I like my coordinator. I like the offensive guy in the box because he can kind of see the field a little bit better. Like he can get a bird's eye view, and he's like thinking about, okay, can I set this up over here? So, to me, standing on the sidelines is very difficult to see the game.
Yeah.
It's like no matter where you are, unless you want to walk 30 yards down that way and get the angle, but straight on in the 50-yard line, it's just you miss a lot of depth.
Obviously,
perception.
Stefanski's on the field. Alex Van Pelt has been on the field in the past, and Drew Petzing, the quarterback's coach, was in the booth.
Yeah.
Now, I would assume AVP is still on the sideline, even though he's got both titles next year. So I don't know who on the offensive side will be the lead guy in the booth. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Interesting. What's up, Mike?
I want to throw one thing in there with the Denzel Ward in the slot and how Jim Schwartz talked about his approach to this defense next year. Ward got paid, and isn't he the smallest of their three? Emerson's the biggest, but Ward is a little smaller than Newsome, right? Mm-hmm. So theoretically speaking, G, and I wish Tyvus was here. We'll ask him on Wednesday. He would fit in the slot against opposing slot receivers, like physically, matchup-wise, better than the other two. Is that a crazy assumption?
Well, here's the problem. When you're in the slot, you got run responsibility. Like you have leverage on these plays. Like you're in the run fit. Like, so if you're in the slot, you depending on that guy to come up and make tackles. Sometimes you blitz from that area. Sometimes you're going to have to cover physical guys out of the backfield, like running backs. You got to be able to tackle. So Denzel Ward, to me, is a guy that's been injury prone a lot. I think Schwartz, what he wants to do is he wants this to be, if say for instance you're lining up and you got a snapshot of your corners, and if opposing offensive coordinators understand, okay, when we go to this formation, Denzel Ward will be here.
Right.
That's too much. You giving away a lot of tendencies of where you want to line up for your strength, where you want to call the roll the coverage to. So if he has an opportunity to play those three guys, and those three guys are going to interchange different positions, you don't really know what their responsibility is going to be. So it's better to just be able to line up anywhere. And a lot of times when you're running people on and off the field, what happens if you get lined up incorrectly? And Denzel Ward doesn't know any slot. So now he's like, we're screwed here. So I think he's just trying to cross-train, make sure that everybody has a little versatility, and especially when it comes to third down and confusing people and teams. And he does a lot of that, like talks about how you want to confuse people in terms of their blocking schemes and what they want to run. If you can have everybody locked in and dialed in and just saying, okay, we can all play everything. Everybody knows everybody else's assignments. That gives you an extra added bonus on defense.
That does make a lot of sense, that you want to be, everybody have the ability to be flexible to some degree. Plus, like, it used to be like when you were the slot corner, you were a backup. And now, really, the slot corner is the starter.
Schwartz plays at 2-4-5, so they're going to have three cornerbacks on the field most plays, I would assume.
I would think almost all the time, except for like goal line situations, 4th and inches, stuff like that.
The Patriots started doing something. The Patriots started running their number one receiver from the slot. So it was Amendolas, it was
Edelman,
and Julian Edelman. And then they actually started running Gronk in the slot and Hernandez in the slot, and which was really a problem because now you got big guys that are out there that are large and physical that can still block. So a lot of people run their number one receivers in the slot position. So what happens if they do that? Now you got Denzel Ward who's getting $100 million out there on a guy. What if you want to follow him around? What if you want to lock him down one-on-one? So it's almost like before your best pass rusher used to come from the blind side of the quarterback. Nowadays, people that don't really necessarily mean anything.
Right, that's true.
They'll just I'll take Myles Garrett and put him on the other side if I feel like it.
Right.
And it's different now.
And one other thing worth mentioning, I forgot to mention off the top, we were talking about Deshaun. He did hit Elijah on a seam route in the red zone that Alex Van Pelt said made the hair on his arm stand up because they just haven't seen that from him to this point. Obviously, Watson struggled quite a bit last year. It was this throw,
right, Jason?
You do have the throw? Yeah, that was it.
Gave him goosebumps.
Yeah, that
was
it.
Quote.
That was it. And
that's a throw that the Browns never make.
He fit it in a tight window, threw it over defender, just over a guy's hands. I didn't see who the defender was, but that is the throw. Emerson. And he said that's what made the hair on his arm stand up because we just haven't seen that yet out of Deshaun. And you're starting to see it's coming. It's coming with him.
Again, it's practice. We don't want to go overboard, but that's the type of throw that like the great quarterbacks make.
Yeah.
And the rest
routinely.
The rest of the guys, and pretty much every Browns quarterback in their recent history can't make that throw. Don't try to make that throw. If they do, they get picked or it gets tipped or whatever. Like, because that's a throw that's got to be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you make throws like that, that's where you get those chunk plays you're talking about. Because those are plays that you can get a lot of yards after the catch because you're already cutting towards the middle of the field and you're ahead of the defensive back.
It was in stride, on target, and Moore did not break his gait to make that catch. If he's in the end zone there, had he been in the open field, that's a 15-yard pass that goes for 45, 50,
Right.
maybe a touchdown, depending on where they are.
Yeah, and to G's point, it feels like, even with Baker, who was better than all the scrubs the Browns had, but not good enough, like it felt like every pass was like we're falling down to catch it.
Yeah, like it's
Right? Or we're going forward, going back towards the line to catch it.
Right.
You weren't here yesterday, Jason. What did you make of his comments when he said he doesn't know if the rest is done? He just says I get 1% better each and every day. Did you have a problem with it, or were you kind of shocked that like he didn't come out and say it, or do you like the approach?
No, I think he's being honest.
Yeah.
I think he's he's not going to know until week 1, really. Like
Right.
this looks good, and we can spend 5 minutes talking about a seam route on 7-on-7 drills and OTAs in May, but we're not going to know until the helmets are on
Right.
and it matters in September.
Yeah.
There's
no pressure here.
Because I'll tell you, he had some throws last training camp that we were like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, look at that.
Right.
And we didn't see any of that when he came when it mattered.
Well, in training camp, you're not going to get hit, so
Right.
that makes it a lot easier to throw the ball.
But just the way, and I was one of them saying it, like
Yeah.
ball comes out of his hands different than it does
Right.
everybody else, and it did. So and that's why, like, this is great, but
Yeah.
let's wait and see. We need to
Right.
see it in September too, and I think he's just being honest.
Yeah.
That he just doesn't
Right.
know, and he won't know until he knows.
It gets you excited, but ultimately it's all meaningless until the regular season. Because even in the preseason, okay, at least in the preseason you can get hit, so
Right.
that's on your mind. But teams are not scheming up for you.
No.
It's very vanilla. A lot of cases you might be facing backup players who are not competing, who are competing for backup jobs.
Right.
Until the game 1 against the Bengals,
The best
we're
look,
not gonna know.
the best look between now and the Bengals is probably going to be the joint practices with the Eagles, frankly.
Right.
Because
but
that's,
even in that, they don't hit the quarterback.
but it's the closest you get. It's a controlled chaos type of controlled fury,
I agree.
guess. And
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm just saying that's even, I think, to me, a better gauge than the preseason of
definitely.
where things stand with him. But we won't know for sure until week 1.
Real quick, G, are those open to the media? The joint practices?
Yeah.
We got to find a way to get out there.
Well, they're in Philly.
Yeah.
We got to find a way to get out. Steve Becker, you're
Steve?
from Philly. You like the Eagles? Steve, just saying.
he doesn't live in Philly, though.
What'd he say?
He doesn't live
He's
in
got
Philly.
family in Philly. I'll sleep on Steve Becker's grandma's couch to be at those joint Packers
That'd be fire.
practices.
That'd be fire.
Me and G, road trip to Philly.
Hey,
Staying at Steve Becker's
Steve
grandparents.
Becker's grandma, if Steve has a
Whipping it.
grandma still, I hope he does.
Yeah,
She's
but
probably
no,
like
but he has
100
family
years
that lives
old.
in Philly. I'm not sure who it is. He'll text us in about 30 seconds.
And Ida. We'll stay with Aunt Ida.
And
I think that's when I'm on vacation, so y'all have fun.
Yeah,
I think
look,
that's
have
when we're
fun
going.
with that.
It's his mom, not his grandma.
When
who
is
lives
it?
in
What
Philly.
week?
I don't remember. I'd have to look it
Last
up. I
week
don't
of July
remember.
or something?
No. It's August.
Did
It's
we-
like I actually think it is when we're on vacation, like August 5th that
All
week.
right.
Now this is, I mean, obviously you can't tell, but did you see a difference in anything? Right, like it's like losing weight. Like you wait for somebody else to be like, "Hey, are you losing weight?" Then you be like, "Okay, it's working." Like, but like until you hear that, no, you gotta hit that gym. But with the Browns offense, did you see a difference, like compared to like what you watched last? Like, is there some stuff you're like, wow, I haven't seen that play, or?
No, honestly, I wasn't even really looking. I was really just watching 4. It's really the only thing I was watching the whole time the offense was on the field. I wasn't even watching when the backups were in. I can tell you DeJuan Jones is every bit as big as you think he is. Yeah. Just a massive human
Eclipse
being.
in the middle of the
he
summer.
would make you look small, G.
Oh, listen, he's huge. No.
Yeah.
And there's not many people I'd be like, oh yeah, he's crazy huge. No, he's really big.
Yeah, that's
Really
a monster.
big.
All right, guys. So yesterday, SI, I can't remember the name of the writer. Michael tell us in a second. He put out
Connor
his,
Orr, right? Is it Connor Orr?
Connor Orr.
Oh
correct.
yeah, Connor Orr. Right. Connor Orr, who's one of the guys that
Who defends Hugh Jackson?
defends Hugh Jackson, the worst coach ever.
There's still those guys out
He
there?
was one of the many that wrote a think piece about Deshaun Watson, how it's the worst thing ever that he's playing football. Did he do the same for Ben Roethlisberger? I don't know. I hate to be that guy. I shouldn't be. Anyway, but I think he's a good writer and a good football guy. And he made 100 bold predictions for the upcoming NFL season. Now, Mike's going to read some of them to us, and we're going to tell you with our happy and sad faces. I got the G. Bush ones here.
Yes.
Whether or not we agree with them or disagree with them. But I read I scanned through some and read all. I looked at least scanned through most of them. And usually when people write articles about bold predictions, I'm like, none of these are bold. And I'm like, and it's annoying. But actually, a lot of these were at least a little bold.
He went out on a limb on
something.
At least 60% were on a
Yeah,
limb. Some were very vanilla. So I picked there was 100.
I mean, I don't know that his Super Bowl pick is that bold to pick.
We'll get to that.
But
That's on the list.
Anyway, go ahead, Mikey.
So there was 100.
Yeah.
If we did all 100, we would be here for 7 hours. So I picked 10. I picked all the ones pertaining to the Browns and a couple others I thought that we could have some fun with. So it's essentially buy or sell. If you're buying this bold prediction, happy face. If you are selling the bold prediction, give me the angry face. And you can get those faces if you are members in the YouTube chat. One of the perks of both tiers of our membership program. You get the faces. So are you guys ready?
We got to add a mustache for me to these.
Give me a mark. Give me a Sharpie.
On, but then we'd be stuck with a mustache forever. So, and we do have some more roasts. We'll end the show with some more bold roasts.
All right.
First bold prediction from Connor Orr of Sports Illustrated involves one Deshaun Watson. Connor Orr predicts he will finish the season with a career high in rushing yards and touchdowns.
What is his career high currently?
487.
I am not buying that.
Yeah, I'm not buying that.
I mean, we didn't pay him to just start coming around here doing his best Lamar Jackson thing. Like, we're not about to.
The Browns actually want to protect him.
Yeah.
They don't want him cutting loose.
No.
It's 551. My bad. That was minus a game. So
551
is his career high.
No.
Yeah, I'm not expecting him to have 600 yards.
Is he talking rushing touchdowns or passing touchdowns? I guess he's not really clarifying.
I think all
there.
rushing.
I think that's all rushing.
This is all rushing. Yeah, no, I'm not.
That would
buying
mean 7
I don't see
touchdowns
it.
and over 550 yards.
I mean,
No.
I think he'll have like 300 yards rushing.
Man,
which is a decent amount for a quarterback, but
I mean, his speed on Madden is 80 or 81. It ain't even crazy like that.
Yeah.
That's my prediction this year for his speed. But
I'll tell you right now, the
84?
the Browns are not turning Deshaun Watson into Jalen Hurts. Like, that's not happening.
No.
Jalen Hurts is a better athlete than Deshaun
He's
Watson.
not. But I'm just saying, like, they have him. They call carries for him.
Yes.
And that's
They're not doing that, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
No, sorry.
Yeah.
I agree 100% with you. He will run when if the play breaks down, he's got to scramble, and he'll have 250 to 300 yards.
I changed my mind on this one. He will have career numbers, touchdowns in the red zone. I think he'll get.
Well, what's his record, though? What is the most rushing touchdowns he's ever had?
Most rushing
7 is the most he ever had.
He's going to have 8 rushing touchdowns?
I think when things break down, he will run.
Yeah, but in the red zone, when the quarterback says, I'm giving the ball to Nick Chubb, what the hell am I going to – I don't want Washington.
You predicted 43 touchdowns in the air, 8 touchdowns on the ground. If your predictions hold true, they're going to score 69 points a game.
That's a lot.
Nice.
8 rushing touchdowns? I said.
Plus 43 in the air, plus the 17 for Nick Chubb you called.
That's 68 touchdowns.
Did I give you – I didn't give Chubb 17. I gave Chubb about over 15, though.
Over 15 to 17.
Or 16.
At least 16.
I got him with the 8 touchdowns, and my knees is out today, so you already know what it was.
Yeah, that's true. All right,
Stop.
Mikey.
That's the listen, if he does, we are all celebrating.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
We can all agree Nick Chubb's the best running back in football. But according to Connor Orr of Sports Illustrated and his bold
I don't know that
predictions.
he's definitely the best running back in I don't think that's necessarily accurate.
That's because he doesn't get the ball enough.
Well, he gets the ball plenty. But he's
Okay,
not like,
that's not the bold prediction.
Is he the best just runner? Like, he's not the best running back because
I think he's the best running back.
yeah, but they're like a guy like Christian McCaffrey does a lot more.
Listen, his screen passes, Christian McCaffrey, he's give me Nicholas Chubb. For my money.
Didn't you see the PFF simulation that had him catching 70 passes for 700 yards and 8 touchdowns
You
yesterday?
didn't see that? You didn't see that? Plus a record-breaking year with touchdowns.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb is ready to go.
He's one of the best running backs.
And he's cocky now. He don't even show up to
That's
stuff
true.
no more.
Yeah. Go ahead.
He was second in the league in rushing last year.
Right.
According to Connor Orr of Sports Illustrated.
All right.
Ramondre Stevenson of the New England Patriots will lead the NFL in rushing this year. Buying that, selling that.
I am not.
No.
And I like Ramondre Stevenson.
I like him
is very, very good.
Has the Patriot ever led the league in rushing?
That's the thing. He gives it to a lot of different guys.
Right.
They have they got rid of what's the other guy they had there last year, but they have Ty Montgomery, who they're going to use in the passing game. They got all these. They draft a running back every year. They don't have a lot of big names, and I do think Ramondre Stevenson will have a higher percentage of carries than most Patriot running backs.
Sorry, I'm dying over here.
Don't. That would be a step up for me throwing up.
Yeah, it would.
It's something about that end chair.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Okay.
I'm good.
I think he could end up certainly in the
I
top
just
10,
sucked coffee
maybe
down
top
my
5, but I
windpipe.
can't put him number 1.
First time I've ever drank coffee on my windpipe.
God.
Rule number 1, never pick anybody from the New England Patriots when it comes to prediction of stats or fantasy.
Yeah.
They will get you lost. They will take your money. You will get dominated in the last week, and you'll lose if you won the whole year. Right. Because they're going to spread it out. Spreadonomics.com. I think Bill Belichick goes and looks at the stats and says, "Ooh, you had a really great game last game. Yeah. You'll get 6 carries. 2 carries this game." You're like, but Bill, what happened? They don't play that.
Yeah. I do think he will have more than most Patriot guys, but in the end, also another thing with the Patriots, I don't think they're very good. I think their quarterback stinks. I think there'll be a number of games where they're behind and
they're throwing the ball.
Yeah.
And good luck throwing with Mac Jones and Bailey Zapp. Although they kicked the Browns' ass last year.
Yes, they did.
Bailey Zappi.
I forgot about that game.
Yeah, we're gonna bury that game.
Yeah, let's go. Go ahead, next,
I forgot all about that.
Next one from Connor Orr of Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow will win his first MVP award. Buying or selling?
I almost feel like I shouldn't vote on these Bengal ones. I don't know. I'm going to say yes.
And I'm going to say yes because, see, the way writers do it, Jason will tell you, this was Jason Lloyd told me. What? Just blame it on Jason Lloyd. No. This is the way, you know the way this works, right? If you have not got the MVP and it's kind of like you're really good and they give it to Patrick Mahomes every year, they're going to have a consensus where it's Joe's time. It's just Joe's time. He's been behind Patrick Mahomes. He's been to the Super Bowl. If he has a really good year this year, I think people are going to get fatigued of saying Patrick Mahomes the MVP, even though I can say he's the best player every single year. I do think Joe Burrow will win the MVP.
Joe Burrow's, like, in Vegas, what are the odds? Is he the second choice, the third choice right now? That's not that bold a prediction. He's the third choice. Who's second? Allen?
Allen.
Yeah. I'd like Burrow over Allen.
Me too.
I'm kind of down on Allen after last year, and I was a big Josh Allen guy.
Yeah, I know. Didn't you draft him?
But yeah, I did. But as long as Patrick Mahomes is still in the league, that's my MVP.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to bet against it, but, I'll do it anyway. If he's the third favorite in Vegas, that's not a bold choice.
That's not bold.
Hey, Bull, you got to
Tua Tagovailoa
you got to put it up higher.
as MVP is a
You
bold
got to put it
prediction.
up higher. I co-sign this move, so Bull is just not a Bengals homer.
Yeah.
Look, see?
Thank you. There you go.
By the way, Corey Dillon did run for 1,635 yards in New England, but it did not lead the league in rushing. He finished third.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, next one.
Dang.
Bull, this is the Bull special. Your favorite, Baker Mayfield, will throw for 16 touchdowns this year.
No chance.
Nah.
Now, I will say this. He's got 2 awesome receivers.
Hold on.
I'm buying it.
But
Hold on.
I don't think he's going to play enough to throw 16 touchdowns.
Do you see who his competition is? Who else they're going to put there?
Do you see how bad he's been?
Do you see who else they have? They have no choice.
But
That's less than a touchdown a game.
Even if he starts, I don't think he's going to play 16 games because he'll get hurt or something will happen. I say he plays like 10 games and has 11 touchdowns.
Okay.
I can't believe I'm now defending Baker. I was as hard on him as anyone.
No, G's on with.
But I between the talent that they have on offense and the fact that they have trash at the quarterback position, if he's healthy, I think he's their starter.
They don't have much of the running game.
That's okay. We're talking about touchdown throws.
I know that, but like if you're one dimension, they were the most one-dimensional team in the league last year with Tom Brady, and it didn't work. If they're trying to be one-dimensional with Baker Mayfield, they're going to suck.
I'm not picking the Bucs to make a deep playoff run. I just think he can throw less than 1 touchdown a game.
More touchdowns or picks for Baker.
We didn't talk about that. Probably more picks. Yeah.
He might throw 16 touchdowns, 18 picks, but I'm just saying, though.
Yeah.
He got Mike Evans.
I'm going no. I got him with like 11 touchdowns. He's not going to get much more than 16 if he gets 16.
No, probably not.
Not 20. He could get 16. If he plays the whole season, I think he'll finish right around 16, but I'm predicting he doesn't play the whole season.
I got him. He could get 16.
Okay.
They got good receivers.
The next comes back to our Cleveland Browns. Connor Orr of Sports Illustrated predicts the Browns will acquire DeAndre Hopkins.
Not bold.
They are also one of the 3 favorites, so similar to the Burrow one.
So
I hope that happens.
So
no.
look, I had it at about maybe 15-20% that it happened. Maybe these folks on the internet is talking it up to a point where now it makes a little more sense. I still think it's most likely he won't, but it's up to about 40% that they can get him. I don't. If they get him, I would be like, yo, you know what? The Browns really went out and did it.
Yeah. I will say this that goes in the Browns' favor. I heard Albert Breer on my old radio show yesterday. Yesterday was Dustin and Chris Fedor. And Albert Breer said that DeAndre is all about the money. It's not about winning.
Yeah,
he only cares about the money. And so this idea that he may take less. Now, Albert could be wrong. But in his mind, this idea that he's going to take less to go play for Kansas City is not happening.
And
that gives the Browns a better chance.
$10.9 million in cap space at 4 p.m. today with the official post-cap cuts of John Johnson III and
who's got more cap space than the Browns? Anybody that has a need that might go for that?
You sent me the tweet this morning. Let me pull it up real quick. And I think the Panthers or the Dolphins have more than the Browns, and that's it. But the Dolphins don't need a receiver.
That tweet I sent you was just additional cap space, I think.
Then let me double check on
that.
Yeah. I know the Browns have with this extra $10.9 million they're opening up. That gives them more than Buffalo and/or Kansas City can offer without completely restructuring
Dallas
some
has
major
some money.
contracts.
The Giants may have some money.
Jason, this is so funny. If there's one thing I will give these analytics people in the front office and D Podesta and all of them, man, they be running Ponzi schemes with this salary cap. The Browns just keep signing people.
Well, but
it's a Ponzi scheme. I don't understand it.
But you can roll your number over year to year, and the Browns haven't had come anywhere near the cap for how many years?
Right.
They've just been rolling and rolling.
Well, they had nobody worth signing for many years,
right.
And now they have.
Right.
And they don't have any other big contracts coming up.
But
so.
I think this is their last year of enjoying this willy-nilly freewheeling spending because, I mean, you're paying Amari Cooper $23 million next year, and if you cut him, it's still $11 million against your cap. You're paying John Johnson next year on your cap, and he's not even here.
Yeah.
So there is some tolls coming on this cap. But for right now, they can still make it work. I still don't think – I think it's a no for now.
Yeah.
But the longer he's out there, I think the Browns' chances increase the longer that this goes.
Right. Well, that means that some teams are not willing to spend the money.
Yeah.
Right.
And would that change your –
If he's still out there 10 days from now, I think there's probably a pretty good chance he could be.
And if they do get him, does that change your outlook on where the Browns' ceiling is?
I mean, yeah. Maybe you had what's he worth? Is he worth 1 win? Is he worth 2 wins? I think he's probably worth 1 win, realistically.
I think he's worth a win. I said it last night. I think he's officially worth 1 win.
Yeah.
And not many players are worth an entire win. I think he is worth an entire win.
By the way, I know we were going to do this later, but I kind of feel like we should play the Greg Cosell clip because it's talking about DeAndre
Anthony, pull up the Cosell thing. This is on Hopkins. That's a good point, Bo. We'll play this. We'll take a pause from the bold predictions.
We'll
we have 5 more. We'll get back to it.
So let me just set it up. So Greg Cosell, who is the guy in terms of studying the film, he works for NFL Films. He's the man when it comes to this. He was on the Ross Tucker podcast. Ross, the former NFL player. Mm-hmm. Most people that follow football know who Ross Tucker is. And he was asked about what DeAndre Hopkins is at this point as a player. And here we go.
Oh, I still think that he's a quality receiver. He's a certain kind of receiver. He's not truly a vertical dimension. He's a tough, physical receiver who knows how to separate at the top of his route stem, creates just enough space to be able to make catches. He's really good in the short to intermediate areas. He certainly can help a team. Obviously he's very physical. He's got great hands. He can help any team. You just have to understand what he is. You're not signing DeAndre Hopkins because you want a big play vertical receiver. You're signing DeAndre Hopkins because he can be a chain mover. He can also be a sustainer if you want to throw a lot on first or second down.
All right, there you go. I mean, none of that, that's kind of all what we knew. But you know what? After I saw that video, I thought about another team that would actually make a lot of sense for DeAndre Hopkins. And I think one of you guys, might have been Mike, just dismissed this team as a possibility. But I actually think the Miami Dolphins, think about it. They have 2 excellent receivers, but those guys are both speed vertical threats down the field. If you added a big possession receiver,
I agree
like
with
DeAndre
you.
Hopkins,
When you said Miami, my internal little flag popped up.
because who's the rest of their receivers there?
Is that a thing?
Tyreek Hill, I mean, they had a bunch of little guys, little speed
No,
guys.
I'm saying besides Jalen Hill and besides Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Like, who are the rest of they don't have anybody else, right? It's like they got two awesome guys.
Man, stop saying that, man.
I don't want it to happen.
But
like, I think he'd be a really good fit there.
I think if they got DeAndre Hopkins, I would have to put them over the Bengals as far as the best receiving core.
They
have, you ready?
Yeah,
oh,
I agree.
They just get smaller and smaller. You ready?
Yeah.
Cedric Wilson Jr., 5'9", 185.
Yeah.
Braxton Berrios,
Yeah.
small slot, quick guy. Robbie
an LWD.
Chosen and River Craft.
River Phoenix?
That's the river.
Have you guys ever heard of River Craft?
No, there's only one other river, and he lives in Phoenix.
He's in his 4th season.
Never heard of him.
Never.
Those guys are all slappies.
Yeah.
So
you know what?
he would actually make a lot of sense. I think they do have cap space.
And that's the crazy thing about the AFC is because it's not like if you don't get him, he goes off to the NFC or something. No,
he might.
But it's the Chiefs,
Yeah.
It's the Bills, it's the Browns, it's the Dolphins. Like, okay, Dallas might look at him, but like, man, if you don't get him, you gotta play the guy. Like, it's just like, for me, I don't like that Dolphins scenario because I'm like, man, the Dolphins to me already made the playoffs. I guess it's all about Tua being healthy, but I like their roster, and like I said, I would have to put them as the best receiving core. They got two guys that
They would pass the Bengals if they added Hopkins. I agree. All right, Mikey, let's get to the next bold prediction. Hopefully it is actually bold by Connor Orr.
This one, it's lukewarm. We'll put it that way.
All right.
According to Connor Orr of Sports Illustrated, the Chargers will make the best remaining signing of free agency, which means over DeAndre Hopkins, by nabbing John Johnson III.
I don't even agree with the premise. And why would you even mention that one? Like, who gives a rat's ass where John Johnson ends up? What, is there a single person that read that article and said, that's an interesting nugget? No, not a single person.
I only included it because it's somehow tied to the Browns.
Yeah.
By the way, I think John Johnson will play better next year. I think Joe Woods was so terrible that he just basically rolled the ball out there and said, hey, guys, go get him. Go get him, Tiger.
Yeah.
I think and by the way, he's a box safety. He's not no deep third safety. He should have been around the line of scrimmage more. I thought he was playing out of position. He'll play better, but by no way, shape, or form is he the best remaining free agents.
Now, I guess technically he says the best signing. He doesn't have to be the best player.
That's, I mean, kind of under the circumstances.
Yeah.
I half agree with this and half don't. I don't know about the Chargers part. I'm
Yeah.
not going to pretend I know the Chargers defensively.
Yeah.
But John Johnson might be the best available player left in free agency. I'm a little surprised he's still out there.
See, I don't agree with that. I think DeAndre Hopkins is better.
Well,
he just came around.
I think even though he's in decline, I think Zeke Elliott's better.
no.
I still think Kareem Hunt's better.
I'll give you Hop, not those other two.
I'll
I'll give you Hop.
John, he has to play in the right system. He
was terrible with the Browns.
Now,
maybe he'll be better somewhere else. I don't know. Aren't there some veteran D linemen still out there too?
I know.
Is
off the top of my
Ndamukong
head,
Suh still out
Frank
there?
Clark?
Yes.
Is it Ndamukong Suh
And Carmelo Anthony.
Is it Ndamukong Suh the defensive version of Chubb needs to get the ball more?
No, he's the football version of Carmelo Anthony.
Well, Carmelo's in that same mix too. Like if you say what you need
Frank
to do.
Clark's still out there though.
Frank Clark, Sue, Clowney. I know we don't want him here, but
Clowney's another one of
Clowney's
those
washed.
guys. Yeah,
He's washed.
Hey,
but I don't
I
think
still
John
think Frank
Johnson's any
Clark can
good.
play. I'll die on that hill. He may not be a 3-down defensive end anymore, but he's going to help a team sometime this postseason.
I like Clark. I like him.
So anyway, I disagree with that one. Go ahead.
All right, speaking of defensive ends, according to Connor Orr of Sports Illustrated, Myles Garrett will win the Defensive Player of the
He
Year
better.
award this
So
year.
I'm going yes. I'll say this: if Myles Garrett does not win Defensive Player this year, I don't think he'll ever win it.
This is his tier. They'll give it to him this year.
Whereas if he wins it this year, I could see him winning it a few more times. But I feel like if he doesn't win it this year, he's already great. It's by far the best talent they put around him. He's got to win it this year.
He's going into year what? What year is this?
7, 6,
I
7?
believe 7. He was drafted in
7?
17, so.
yeah, 7 years, 7.
Yeah, he better win it this year.
Right.
And he's got enough talent around him now, you would think.
There's no excuse.
I'm going to say yes. he better.
Aaron Donald is diminished a little bit. But watch out for what's the name? Micah Parsons, bro. Micah Parsons might mess
He's
around
the real deal.
and get 20 sacks, and then he'll just jump you. I think he'll win it because Schwartz is going to challenge him to play more consistently in the run game, even though he's a good defender there.
Part of the reason the Browns brought Jim Schwartz in was they thought he was the best defensive coordinator candidate to get the most out of Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett and Jim Schwartz are very much tied together with that.
Let me ask you something else, guys. This is going to blow up the rest of the segment. I apologize, Mike. Excuse me. But
Get out.
what's that?
Get out.
You coughed. Get out.
I'm not sick. I'm not sick.
I just got tuberculosis.
No, it's allergies. I was just busting your balls earlier. You mentioned Aaron Donald.
Are you going to bring up an Aaron Donald trade here?
If the Browns can throw,
Yes.
If the Browns got this money,
Yes.
and you're deciding between Hopkins and Donald,
Hot tub
you
trade
can't bring them
machine.
both in.
Is that even a question?
If you had to get one of the two, Aaron Donald, we don't know what he's got left in the tank. He didn't play much last year.
It's Aaron Donald, man.
Who you want?
Yeah, it's Aaron Donald.
It's Aaron Donald, bro. You don't think he can hit that button? I'm Aaron Donald again. You can't talk.
What's it take? I mean, the Rams probably aren't going to be good this year.
I don't know what they have left draft compensation. I have to look and see. But I don't know what he would. He's not the Aaron Donald of old, but
No.
you're not going to get him for 2/5. Like some of
Aaron
these other.
Donald, for the record, he played 11 games last year, so almost half a season.
Yeah.
Had 5 sacks and 50 tackles in 11 games. So he was on pace for a 9-sack, 80 tackle
And
season.
where was he
which
PFF
granted is-
grade-wise?
I'll look at PFF in a sec,
Jiminy
but
Christmas.
that's significantly an upgrade over anyone they had. And I don't think, I mean, it's not a typical Aaron Donald season. He had 20.5 sacks in 2018, 12.5, 13.5, 12.5. That dropped to 5.
Yeah, I mean, he's not elite anymore, but he's still good.
Pretty damn good.
Hey, listen.
How many
here's-
years left on his
atrocious.
contract?
Hey,
He's getting paid a crap load of money. I mean,
to
He
me,
had a 90 PFF grade last year. So
come on. To me,
that is actually elite.
there's certain people that are going to be elite until they leave, until they retire. Look, think about it. Tom Brady threw for 5,000 on the way out. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald is going to be 99 on Madden. He's going to be a 99 in my book. Lawrence Taylor was always good. Lawrence Taylor was never bad in my book.
What's his contract look like at this point, Mike?
give me 1 sec. He's making a lot of money. Like
Right.
a lot of
But
money.
how many years is it? Like, are you locked in for 3 years? Because, like, you really only want him for 1 more year, probably.
Well, he's threatening to retire a few times. So let me see.
Yeah, who knows if he'd even want to play anywhere
So
else.
he signed a 6-year, $135 million deal. Once this loads, I could tell you. Of course, the internet wants to crap out of me right now.
He's actually underpaid, to be truthful. Like, I think Myles Garrett got, 125?
Right, but at this point, Myles Garrett's better than Donald, no?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
I got you.
Yeah.
You ready, Bull?
Yeah.
So his base salary is $13.5 million this year with an $8 million signing bonus. So his cap hit this year is $26 million.
Okay.
His cap hit next year, which he either has to retire, but he's getting paid next year one way or another, $34.2 million.
Oof.
And then you could get out of it after that with 2 voided years. But yeah,
He's going to retire.
Yeah, the problem would be next
$34.5
year,
million
a
next year.
$34 million cap hit for an old defensive
Yeah.
tackle.
Yeah.
he'll be 33
And they're
next
already
year.
going to be in cap hell next.
That's part of the risk, but can you imagine how good their defensive line would be if they added Aaron Donald?
They should not
They would
lose.
they would then have the best D-line in the NFL.
Yeah, they should not lose.
I don't know if that's even realistic.
No.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Browns, get the camera on me here. You're all in. You're pot committed like a degenerate. Get in, trade for Aaron Donald,
How did we get to
sign DeAndre Hopkins,
time machine?
do it both.
trade?
F the salary cap, push it off for a few years. Jimmy will probably get indicted a few years from now, allegedly. I mean, it's not, there's nothing out there. I'm kidding. At least not yet. Who knows what he's been up to the last decade. I'm telling you, you got to trade for Donald, give up some third-round picks, whatever the hell it is,
I had nothing to do with this.
and
Me
then
and JC
sign DeAndre Hopkins. Let's go. Is the goal to have the best team possible, or is the goal to look at the salary cap?
Hey, we need to.
F the salary cap. Jimmy Haslam's a freaking billionaire. He just pissed away money on the stupid Milwaukee Bucks. He ruined that team. They couldn't win after he added it in there. He's paying.
He's been there 20 minutes. He ruined him.
Right. He's buying some soccer team in Columbus, the Crew. Everybody loves him. Anthony's a big fan.
Steve, can you give us?
Let's go.
Can you give us?
Spend more money on the Browns. I want Donald. I want Hopkins. And you know what? That's it. That's all I got to say about it.
Steve, can you give us the I don't want to get indicted voice? Oh, I don't know.
Are the Browns a better team with those two players?
I had nothing to do with this.
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes or no? Gee, how are you not on my side of this?
It's not realistic.
Yes, it is. No, let me rephrase. It's not realistic.
You pulled Aaron Donald out of the sky and was like, give me that.
Wait a second. You're right. It's not realistic because we've all conned ourselves into believing that billionaires can't spend over the cap. That's how dumb we are. See, in this country, we're all stupid. The billionaires know we're stupid, so they convince us to feel bad for them that they won't spend money. Jimmy Haslam has more money than everybody, okay? Than everybody else in Cleveland combined.
How do we?
So they could go way over the cap. Tell me why they can't do it.
How do we get here, boo?
Let me tell you something. You are always saying sign, no cap, who cares?
I know. But
Jason has bought into the narrative that it's not realistic. And he's right in that the fact that it won't actually happen. However, there's no reason it couldn't happen beyond the fact that the Browns, like every other team, will be gutless and not do it.
He just pulled it out of the sky like Bluetooth.
Hey.
Aaron Donald is now
Do
in
you
the
want to
trade
win?
market.
Where are we? What planet is
Do you
this?
not want to win? Jason doesn't care about winning enough. Neither
We
does
have
Jimmy
two more
Haslam.
bold predictions to get to, so we are going to get back.
Now
wish I had,
that's a
like,
bold prediction. I'm like this. I should write an article
I need
instead
the
of this
cucumbers.
slappy writing
I need
this
to put
article.
cucumbers on my eyes.
Connor Orr, oh my God, the
go
Browns did an
off to my
unforgivable
happy
move
place.
trading for Deshaun Watson. Unforgivable.
get
8
out
other
of this
teams wanted to trade for him,
nonsense.
Connor Orr. Take it down a notch.
What are we even doing now?
Connor,
my
maybe
gosh.
this or maybe that.
Jimmy
Okay,
Haslam,
ready.
stop being a big wuss and go make these moves. Stop effing around here.
Bold prediction number 8.
You made a draft pick based on a homeless guy. I think you could freaking do this.
I'm reeling Bull back
Speaking
in.
of which, yesterday I dropped off my wife at the hospital. I make a left turn on Euclid out of the University Hospital parking lot, and there's a woman, a large woman. It's all right, I'm a large man. This large woman is slowly walking across the street. She turns around, and her gigantic boobs were out. They were out, G. They were like Z cups, and they were out. Jason's trying to be above it right now. I saw a woman walking with her boobs out, Jason.
My wife said, call me as soon as the show ends. I might just call her now. I think it's over.
And that rant brought to you by Bull is from the
what'd you need?
USFL. The USFL is fun, family-friendly
Speaking of
events
family-friendly.
for
Family
everybody.
friendly.
You get tickets for $10. They are home with Boogie Roberts the next 3 weeks. Check him out at USFL.com. We have
Why is this woman crossing the street with her giant boobs hanging out? Can somebody tell me that? Give me an answer.
Mustache
Mustache Bull is different.
Mustache
Bull is a
cannot be
different breed.
contained. Will not be contained.
Loose
Not
cannon.
realistic. Make
It
these
is-
freaking moves, and I'll stop
Okay.
talking about giant boobs
Bull
hanging out.
We had a whole.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull back the curtain before we get to these last 3.
Yeah.
I sent a rundown last night. Bull was like, "I'm sick of talking about the Cavs. I don't want to talk about the Cavs. Let's change topics."
Yeah.
We could have put anything in there with this rant
Yeah.
and this segment taking way longer than anticipated.
Yeah.
We would have talked Cavs anyway, Bull. So
F the Cavs. I don't care. The Cavs are meaningless. Cavs basketball is meaningless until the middle of April. True or false? Of next year.
It's not meaningless.
Meaningless. 100% meaningless.
Well, don't tell that to the ticket department. They still have a lot of tickets to sell.
Listen to me again. Get the camera on me again. Don't spend money on Cavs tickets. Don't go to the games. The regular season doesn't matter. I'm sorry, it's dereliction of duty, but I will not watch a single Cavs game until the playoffs next year.
That's a lie. Yes, you will.
I refuse to watch a game.
All right, clip this because yes, you will.
Lock it in. The regular season is meaningless. Okay?
If they make a trade, will you watch?
If they make a trade for a significant player, I'll consider it. Okay. If they don't, if it's the same team with a bunch of different doofuses on the bench, then I'm not watching a game all year.
What if they win 12 in a row?
Don't care. What does it mean?
What if somebody gets hurt?
I don't care if they win 60 games, win the playoffs.
Not 1 second. You won't watch 1 second. Not 1 second.
No.
Not 1 second.
No.
Not one
I'm
tip
out.
off. All right.
Till the playoffs. Then I'll
Clip
watch
it.
the whole
I'm
thing.
going to hold you to this.
We are
go.
clipping that. It is officially noon, and I am officially
Thank
bringing us
God.
back on track here to get us through the rest of this segment and a little bit of some other stuff before we have Wayne Randazzo, who's calling the Guardians game on Friday, joining the program. But it is lunch hour, and that means it is time to tell you guys who sponsors the lunch hour, and that is Call It Company's Championship, July 12th through the 16th at the famous Firestone Country Club. You can check out all your favorite golfers. They have fun, family-friendly events for everybody, including concerts every night and free admission for kids. Check them out at colleaguegolf.com. Okay, back on track after that debacle, whatever that was.
Why was that a debacle?
It doesn't matter.
What I was saying
Next
about the
bold
Browns was totally true.
Mute his mic,
Let's
Steve.
just leave
Mute
it
his
there.
mic. Next bold prediction. Trevor Lawrence will become the 10th quarterback ever to pass for more than 5,000 yards in a season.
No. They're going to be a balanced team. He's still a young player. I think he has a really good year, but I don't think he has over 5,000 yards.
Nah, he ain't gonna get no stacks like that.
I'm not on the Trevor Lawrence bandwagon as much as I think some other people
really?
are.
I
think
am,
he's good. I think he's good, but
They got really good wide receivers. Remember, they have Calvin Ridley now.
yeah.
I just didn't see the like when people was like, yo, it's the trend, generational talent, and he's pretty good, but I mean, I don't see like.
That's a great playoff win. That's a great win. I want to take that from him.
Yeah,
Chargers also kind of bowled themselves all over the garbage can.
But here's what I will say. Hold on, I might have to take this back. He's still not gonna get them 5 stacks.
Yeah.
But I will say this. I'm gonna say this. If that was Deshaun Watson and he did that against Justin Herbert, what would we be saying?
Oh, if you didn't kiss his ass every moment, fans would be annoyed.
What we talk about?
Oh,
So
yeah.
I can't knock him. I'm gonna keep it 100. Like that's a nice win against a nice team, and under those circumstances, and then play decent in Arrowhead. So I mean,
they were in that game.
Yeah,
I mean, they were probably a double-digit underdog. In that game.
Trajectory is going up, but I do not believe he's getting 5,000, and I don't think that they're going to make any waves or noises this year. I think they drop.
Yeah,
back
but they're
a
gonna.
little bit.
But the thing is, they're still gonna win that division though, because that division sucks.
Yeah,
it does suck.
Yeah, it does. I can't even.
Who's gonna win that division? The Titans, the Colts, who's the other?
Colts starting a rookie quarterback. Titans are a mess.
And who's the other team? Who am I forgetting?
Texans.
Texans. Yeah, they ain't winning anything.
Yeah, you're right.
The Jaguars could go 8-9. They'll still
I
win
shouldn't
the
say the
division.
Titans are a mess. The Titans are not a mess, but I'd probably pick the Jaguars.
But they're
over
on the
Titans.
decline.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
The Jaguars could finish 8-9. They'll still win that division probably. But I think
Did
they'll
last
be,
year.
right?
8-9.
They'll be better, but I mean, I like Trevor Lawrence, but go ahead.
All right, next one. These are some advanced analytics and statistics, so I'll break this down in simplest terms possible.
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett will finish as a top 12 quarterback in terms of efficiency next year.
Stop it. Just stop it.
Buy or sell. This is from Connor or not me.
If Kenny Pickett played for the Browns, Connor Rowe would say he was the stupidest draft pick ever. And it probably would be.
Not if Hugh Jackson drafted
Most
him.
of the quarterbacks that the Browns draft suck ass.
If Hugh Jackson drafted
Is he
him, he'd love
still
him.
defending Hugh Jackson?
He and I went at it when I was filling in last summer because he wrote some stupid thing on Hugh, and he and I just went at it on the
Hugh
radio.
Jackson is getting
Yeah.
Hugh Jackson is getting pounded at Grambling right now. What are you talking about?
He's catching strays.
He's getting disrespect. He's getting pounded still at Grambling. He's talking about like this is that we have a body of work at all levels for Hugh Jackson, and it is not very good. No, Kenny Pickett is not.
I'll never forget, we were at training camp once, and Hugh Jackson was coming on to be interviewed by Dustin and I. Mm-hmm. And Hugh said, "Oh, you're the guys who have been killing me." And I was like, "Well, what do you want us to say? I mean, like, what? You suck. You've won one game in 2 years.
Yeah.
What am
I supposed to say?
We're all time bad right now.
Yeah, right.
Hugh. Like, don't you know that?
Yeah, I mean, Hugh Jackson's a terrible coach. Is it my fault he's shitty at football? I don't know.
And this guy,
Sorry, Mike.
this guy
Go ahead.
Pickett right here is like, it just seems like the Pittsburgh Steelers believe that like, oh, we're the Steelers, you should give us the benefit of the doubt on our medium quarterbacks. This guy's medium sauce.
They, as a franchise, they've been medium sauce for a while now,
Yeah.
and they'll remain medium sauce. Did anybody say yes to Pickett?
No. I don't think he's terrible, but he's not going to be top 12.
No, I don't think he's terrible, but I think he's like Baker. I mean, I think he's in that level of player.
Is he Ryan Tannehill? I think he's Ryan Tannehill.
Or Tannehill. Same thing.
Probably.
Like,
That's
or
probably.
Andy Dalton. I think it's like.
Yeah.
He's
Those guys are
perfectly
better
mid.
than Baker.
Yeah.
He's perfectly mid.
I mean, it's just like when you have a guy like that, you're always trying to find a better guy.
Yeah.
I think that's what they'll eventually
I don't
do.
like his face mask or number either. Like, it's just not. Look, you just know you hate when you just start bringing. I don't like your shoulder pad height. I don't like those either.
All right, Mikey, what do we got next?
Last one.
Oh.
Final prediction from Connor Orr of Sports Illustrated. The Bengals will defeat the 49ers in the Super Bowl.
The third time they played.
Joe Montana against Boomer Esiason?
That's crazy.
Well, the first was Montana against Kenny Anderson. And then it was Montana against Boomer.
I don't remember the Kenny Anderson one. I do remember the Boomer.
I do remember the Kenny Anderson one. I was 11.
It may be, the Bengals may get to the Super Bowl. I'm not gonna lie, they may get there. I mean, that's not a bold prediction. They've been to the Super Bowl and lost an NFC Championship game 2 years in a row, so that's not a bold prediction. But the 49ers and their quarterback, I like their roster, but I just don't think you could just throw anybody back there and just get it done.
I think what we're going to find out this year is Brock Purdy, I'm not going to say Tom Brady, but is he the next excellent quarterback that came out of nowhere as a late pick?
Would you
because he wasn't like Jimmy Garoppolo had success there, but he wasn't putting up big numbers. Brock Purdy was putting up big numbers there. And I know he got hurt, and they traded up for Trey Lance. But if Brock Purdy's healthy, isn't he your starter?
Yes.
Why would you start Trey Lance? Trey Lance hasn't done
They've
anything.
said that, by the way.
Yes, but I don't know that he's healthy.
Yeah.
I don't know he's going to be healthy for this. At least not for the start of the year.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I don't know. If Brock Purdy is the quarterback we saw last year, they're probably the best team in football. Because I think they have, minus quarterback, they have the best roster.
Do you trust him?
No, I don't yet, but, if he plays,
it's a small sample size.
It is.
Shanahan is great at making medium quarterbacks who don't really throw the ball with a huge skill set look great.
I disagree. I think he makes them look better.
He had Brian Hoyer looking. Well, Brian Hoyer was looking crazy the first few games.
But none of these quarterbacks have looked as good as Purdy last year. Now, again, he's got to do it for a full season. I agree. He's got to prove it. But I'm saying if he proves it, they're very dangerous.
Oh yeah, the rest of
and it's an easier path in the NFC to get into the
their
Super Bowl.
roster is loaded.
I don't want to pick the Bengals to win the Super Bowl. I just don't. I think obviously they can, but I don't know. I'm not really superstitious, but I just kind of don't want to pick them.
You're like, nah, that's a jinx. Because you if you say they are going to win, your timeline's going to be crazy the rest of the year.
I don't know.
Yeah,
they could, but certainly that's not a bold prediction.
But at the end of the day, I think that's what we all take. That's where the Browns want to get. If you say, all right, who's going to win the Super Bowl this year? If somebody picks the Browns, you want to get to a point where your roster and people feel like, oh, well, that's not a stretch. If you said the Bills can win a championship or the Eagles or the 49ers could, you would just say, cool.
All right. Should we switch it up to some Nuggets?
No, I got one more thing. So we got about 5 minutes before Wayne Randazzo hops in. So I don't want to start something and drop it. One thing from OTAs yesterday that we didn't mention, we talked about pre-show, and you can take the picture here. After one of the deep passes Deshaun Watson made, he gave his famous arrow celebration. And normally, celebrating in practice, I don't look much into it.
Yeah.
But I actually love the fact that he did this yesterday because it appears he might be getting a little bit of his swag back. And I do think that's going to play a role in Deshaun Watson getting his confidence, regaining the mojo he had in Houston, and then becoming the quarterback we all expect him to be later this year. What did you guys think of seeing Deshaun Watson? Jason, you were there. I'm not sure if you noticed it in the moment.
I didn't even notice, no.
But he did pull it out him at celebrating a touchdown in 7-on-7s?
I don't get that wrapped up in it. The only thing I'll say on it is I think that he's more comfortable this year. I think not all of it, but most of the stuff is behind him. And I'll preface it again, like I always have to, that I think it was very difficult on him mentally, emotionally, everything that he went through. And I'm not saying it wasn't self-inflicted. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying being in his position, there was a lot there. And I think the fact that most of that is now behind him is a burden off his shoulders. And I just think that he's just feeling more comfortable in the system. I think he's looking forward to a full training camp, this full OTA session, a full preseason where he can just focus on football. And so
even the questions for the media are all about football at this point.
Yeah, and we knew that like all these things have a cycle, and all these things at some point in time that gets set aside, and it's not going to come back up unless there's reason for it to come back up. So from this point on, it's all football. And I think that I don't put a whole lot of stock into any sort of fist bump or the arrow or anything like that. To me, it's just a sign of his comfortability and the fact that he's settling back into a routine.
Man, who you are, like, I'm a big proponent of look good, feel good, play good. I'm a big proponent of, playing with some sort of energy level, right? Football is an emotional sport. Sports in general is emotional, right? And I think a lot of times we've seen superstars that have gone from being guys that were notably well-liked to the villain. I go back to LeBron in Miami. Like, he was wearing the carbon fiber mask and he was 0 dark 30 LeBron, and it just didn't fit his description. He was the guy that we saw at Cleveland doing all the celebrations and the dancing. And this may go a little deeper, but generally speaking, most likely, from me, just speaking from my appearance, and I know other people are different, black people have a spirit, like a culture, like hip hop and just being more descriptive when we talk about dancing, and when we talk about, if you even go back to Africa, you talk about just the culture of celebration, of just competition and people really exuding who they are. Sometimes you need that energy to keep you going. And sometimes it's difficult when you go through things and that energy level is taken away. If you at work, 9 times out of 10 people think about leaving their jobs because the feeling that they get when they wake up. Everybody's worked at a job where you wake up and you get that sick feeling in your stomach, like, man, I should be doing something else. I hate my boss. Yeah. They ain't paying me enough. I'm undervalued. I don't even want to even be in this industry. People that's when you actually start to quit a job and think about what do you want to do. But when you get a job or you go somewhere and you get that little tingling in your feeling, like, everybody, we do other sports, and when you turn the microphone on or the light comes on, it's a feeling, it's a vibe. So it's cool to see him actually have that passion kind of come up a little bit. Yeah. And like you said, does that going to transition to Super Bowls? That's not what it is. But it is good to see him back to his old self in a little small window.
We talked about yesterday his comments. Jason commented on today the comments he made about knocking off the rust and stuff like that. And my concern was, Jason, you talked about, he had all these distractions, self-inflicted or not, doesn't matter. They're distractions. Right. And it seemed to have affected his play. And part of that is his confidence, his mojo, whatever, intangibles, whatever you want to call it. Like, he seemed to have lost that edge last year. And he's got to get that back. So does him doing the arrow celebration in a practice mean he's back? I don't know. Is the confidence back? I don't know. But I think it does signal that maybe he's feeling more comfortable. Maybe he's feeling less pressure. Some of the things are off his mind. So I do think it's a good sign. But a big deal, no. But because normally I'd make fun of somebody for celebrating him a 7-on-7. But I kind of like that I saw it from him because we want to feel like his confidence is coming back. Yeah. Because you got to have that when you're a quarterback. All right, Wayne Randazzo, who's the voice of the Angels on TV, used to do Mets games on the radio, does Angels on TV. He's part of the Apple TV broadcast, and the Guardians and Twins will be on Apple TV Friday. Now, the Guardians, by the way, had a nice win yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And they scored a ton of runs.
12
and I got it. Listen, I've killed them all year, so I give them credit for one day. Josh Naylor at a home run against the lefty.
He can hit lefties.
He can.
There you go. There you go.
By the way, I believe in the game where the Guardians scored 12 runs, Myles Garrett, I think, went 0 for 5.
Hey,
didn't he?
And Tito gave, I like what he calls people, Gabby, Gabby,
nicknames, right?
Gabby, he hit a home run. It's good to see that. Listen, it's nice to see some runs for
They
once.
hit 3 home runs in the game, right?
Yeah.
Arias, Naylor, and who hit the 3rd home run?
Bell.
Oh, and Bell. Yeah, right.
Easy to
Right.
forget him.
Yeah, he's forgettable, right? Unless you talk about Albert. No, I mean it's refreshing to, especially in Camden Yards. Now I used to love Camden Yards when it came out.
I was not when I went there. I wasn't overly impressed.
Really?
Oh, I love it.
I thought it was fine, but I didn't think it was as amazing as people said.
My
favorite park of the new parks that I've been to, I haven't been to them all, is PNC. I think PNC is
McNuggets.
Actually, I haven't been to that one.
McNuggets, where are the top 5s at? We got to have top 5 ballparks.
I think we did that.
Fan experience.
Well, you got to take out the old parks.
You know what's
just the new
funny?
ones.
You know what's funny about Camden? We did a few years ago. We did a vacation just up and down the Eastern Seaboard. We went to a bunch of different cities, and we stopped in Baltimore. And I took my son to a game. We went early for batting practice. So we sat in right field, and I kid you not, as soon as I sat down, I wasn't down 3 seconds, and the ball landed in the seat next. Like I could have died. It would have hit me right in the head. Hit right in the seat next to me.
Did you go to the Nationals Park too?
No,
or
just Baltimore.
The Nationals Park is nothing.
Yeah, I've never
Phillies'
heard.
new ballpark is nothing.
Why would you get like? It's almost like the 49ers' new stadium. Like, why would you get a nondescript stadium?
It is weird
like
these days.
And back then, I used to always love the fact that every single stadium, it looked like in Major League Baseball, had their own specific thing. Like when you go to the water fountains in Kauffman Stadium, or the Big Monster. I always loved that. It seems like some of the parks now are just generic.
HOK was the architecture firm that did Camden and did Jacobs Field. It was Jacobs Field back then.
Yeah.
Phenomenal job.
I love those.
Phenomenal.
By the way,
I have them build all of them.
In a game where the Guardians had a rare 17 hits and 12 runs, including 3 homers, and they had 5, 7, 8 extra base hits in this game. Myles Garrett 0 for 4 with a walk.
Well, good. You didn't even notice it, did you?
You did.
Because of all the runs that they
Unfortunately,
scored.
the Guardians only score like that once a month. All right, let's bring in Wayne Randazzo. Wayne, of course, I don't know why I assume. Wayne, I for whatever reason, not because you were doing Mets games. I don't know why I thought you were from New York. You're not. You're from Chicago originally, right?
Yes, yeah. People, you're not the only one who makes that assumption. If people do think I'm from New York because of my connection to the Mets, but I am originally from Chicago. I was surprised too that somebody from Chicago got a New York broadcasting job.
Yeah, it's a really slap in the face to us New York guys. I'm very insulted they didn't call me. But no, in all seriousness, you did a heck of a job because I listened to I'm not a Mets fan, but I do listen to the Mets because the Mets traditionally, for those who don't know, from Cleveland, have always had very good broadcast teams. You got to be really good to do games for the Mets. Their TV is probably the best in baseball, certainly top 2 or 3. Their radio is fantastic. It's a long tradition of great broadcasters there. Now you're out with the Angels doing TV there. But anyway, there's a very famous restaurant in Brooklyn where I grew up called Randazzo's. Did you ever go there when you were in New York?
I have been there, yeah, and I'm not related to them, but there's a lot of Randazzos, believe it or not, especially in New York. My family was originally in New York, and then they moved to Chicago, but it's great. You have good taste.
And you're doing, of course, the Apple TV game, and the Guardians are playing the Twins, Apple TV Friday night. By the way, this is very unheard of for baseball, but you'll, I think, appreciate this, Wayne. My Little League team, we are doing a watch party, an Apple TV watch party. I'm not just saying this because he's on. We're really doing this. An Apple TV watch party for the Guardians and the Twins. Tomorrow night we're practicing. We're having a practice at 7, and then we're watching the game at 8 on Apple TV at my assistant coach's backyard. How about that? A little watch party for
the
Apple
kids
TV.
are probably more familiar with Apple TV than the adults.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yes. The adults,
They'll
exactly.
show you guys how to use it.
Exactly. So it's a big series. I know it's early in the season. The division's been bad. But I'm looking at this as a big series for the Guardians because I don't think they play the Twins again until August. So this is an opportunity, as bad as they've been, to get ahead of the Twins in this division.
Yeah, with fewer divisional games this year, there's less opportunity to play each other, and when those games do happen, I think they do carry a heightened sense of importance because this is now you have fewer chances to go head to head and gain ground. And the Guardians have some ground to gain. There's a lot of time. I mean, even if this series doesn't go Cleveland's way, they'll still have time to make it up. But I do think there is that heightened sense that, these games are kind of early type playoff games. The Angels are in Houston right now going through the same thing, playing the Astros. Those games matter. It's the divisional baseball. And when you have those fewer games, you have to go head to head and earn it. And this is a chance for the Guardians to do that against the Twins. Minnesota's in first place right now. Hardly a team running away with that division. Nobody really has taken the bull by the horn, so to speak, in the American League Central. So it's something that I think the Guardians have to look forward to and see this as an opportunity to win a series in Minnesota and get a little ground game.
Wayne, we're playing a game with all the guests today. Does Bull look like a pedophile or a plumber?
Plumber. Obviously, there's a great Super Mario Brothers connection there. And plumber.
But Wayne doesn't know me, so he doesn't. Like, for all Wayne knows, I have this stupid mustache all the time. Wayne, I've never had. Last week on the show.
Well, I felt like we needed to explain it because it probably caught him off guard when he saw how ridiculous he looked.
So last week on the show, I brought in a picture of me in high school, which is the only time I'd ever had just a mustache. I've had a beard a lot, but here's my high school picture there.
Oh, man.
With that mustache, right? Like, I'm ready to go, party. I mean, I look like a party animal in that picture. Not really.
You look like 90% of the New Yorkers I know, so It really is not out of place to me.
Exactly. So today, I surprised everybody on the team here by shaving my beard and just showing up with the mustache for the first time probably since that day in high school, 30-something years ago, whatever it was. And so that's why he's making fun of my beard. So you feel free to make fun of my mustache. I don't have a problem with it.
Well, anyway.
Right, if I need some pipes cleaned, I'll let you know.
Wayne, I know you do a lot of the Angels games, and I had to ask, I'm sure you've seen the thing on Twitter I think is absolutely hysterical. Every Angels game is Mike Trout hit 3 home runs, Shohei Ohtani hit 2 home runs, and the Angels lost 8-5 last night. Is this the year that the Angels finally make the postseason, do you think? And what's going to happen with Shohei this offseason?
Yeah, I wish the Angels were in the National League, because the answer to that question would be yes, they are going to make the playoffs. But in the American League, it's a lot tougher. I mean, you figure that in the AL Central, the division champion's going to get in, and that's it. But in the East and the West, there's multiple teams in those divisions that are playing really well and that certainly look like playoff teams. Tampa Bay with their great start. Baltimore's been very good, kind of under the radar because they lose some of the spotlight to the Yankees and they lose some of the spotlight to how good the Rays have been. But the Orioles are really good too. And in the American League West, the Texas Rangers have spent a lot of money, and Bruce Bochy's their manager, and they're playing great. And the Astros are consistent and very good every year. So it's tough. The American League's tough, and you can't. The Angels have had some moments where they've been a little sloppy. They've lost some games, either with late leads blown. Happened in Cleveland. I mean, the games that they lost to the Guardians were games that I think the Angels look back on, especially that second game in Cleveland that they should have won. They had a 6-2 lead going into the bottom of the 8th inning. Those are the kinds of games you really can't lose in the American League. So it's going to be tough because I do think the Angels have enough talent to get there. They just have to play consistently good. Yesterday was one of those days you kind of talked about where Trout and Ohtani did a lot, and they won. So that's a good thing. If those guys are going to carry them, they need to win those games. So there's a long way to go, obviously, but I think the Angels really have to tighten up how they play defensively and their bullpen so that they can win the games they should win.
Wayne, we started a little tradition. I don't even know who asked the first question, but every time we have a prominent baseball figure on, we talk about, all right, so how much is Shohei Ohtani actually worth? Like
$600 million.
So could we trade you all our prospects today? That's all the Gavin Williams and Bibees and who else? Throw Allen in there, Espino, and all these guys.
Whatever.
Whatever you want. How much would it take for us to get Shohei Ohtani? What does the package look like?
Just for the rest of this season, not even thinking about beyond?
Yeah, right. Just for the rest of the season.
Well, I think it's tough because you're getting. I mean, I think the Max Scherzer Trey Turner trade stands out. You got an ace pitcher and you got a great offensive player in that trade. Although you had an extra, Scherzer was a rental, but Turner you had an extra year, so it's not a great comparison, but it's a good one. And Washington got Josiah Gray, and they got Keibert Ruiz, the top two prospects the Dodgers had at the time, a starting pitcher and an everyday catcher. And, I think that would probably be what you'd expect. I think it would take the top two prospects from a minor league system right now, and maybe a couple other guys that are toward the middle of that top 30 list. I think it would still be a pretty good haul, even with Shohei being a free agent at the end of the year, because you're getting two players in one. So I do think there's still a big price to pay if there's a trade to be made. Now, if we're talking about free agency, yeah, I think it's going to start with a 5, and I think there's going to be some hesitance because he's a better pitcher than he is a hitter. He's still a great hitter. He's still a difference-making hitter, but he can also be the ace of a staff. So you have to trust how long is he going to pitch at the rate that he is. A lot of times, generally we don't see pitchers get huge, long free agent contracts. So that will be taken into account. And so will his marketing ability and just the uniqueness of who he is. The number is going to start with a 5. I don't know if Cleveland's going to go. You think Cleveland's going to put up that number?
No chance. I mean, we ain't spent $500 million in the last 20 years.
I mean,
right. So it limits who's out there. There's going to be suitors. Certainly, the New York teams will go after him. I don't know if he wants to go to New York. I think I would if I had to guess, I would say the Dodgers and the Angels are the two favorites, and the Padres are interesting because they'll spend the money. But I don't know if he wants. He is obsessed with Darvish. He idolizes Darvish. And I don't know if he wants to go to a place where he has to feel secondary to somebody. And no matter how much more talented he might be, he'll always feel second to Darvish.
For the record, Seattle's my dark horse.
We got to see him at Wrigley Field. I want him on the
Both
Cubs.
saying Chicago, I say Seattle. Is there any chance they trade him, or is that cooled now because the Angels are in it?
Well, they're in it, but there's still 2 months almost till the trade deadline. So I don't know. I mean, I think I wouldn't trade him. Even if I'm not in it, I wouldn't necessarily trade him. Because I think that you have to re-sign him if you're the Angels.
Yes.
You can't let him wear another uniform. You can't let him go.
No,
he's too valuable to not only the team on the field, but the team off the field. Yeah. You should see how many Asian fans the Angels have at every game that they go to. These people are obsessed with Shohei. They want to watch his every move. And you're giving up as much money as they'll take to sign him. You're giving up so many dollars worth of marketing and advertising with Japanese companies and people that are watching all over the world to see Shohei Ohtani. I would never let him wear another uniform if it were up to me.
I agree. The Angels are insane. They should pay him whatever it takes. There shouldn't be a number too high. The guy's the greatest baseball player. I mean, it's just unbelievable. We've obviously never seen anything like it. So I don't know. We'll see if the Angels are able to keep him, but it's fascinating. By the way, speaking of Apple TV, I watched the Ted Lasso finale. Anybody else watch the Ted Lasso finale yesterday?
I'm still in season 2.
No. Oh, you in season 2?
I'm almost there. Don't spoil it.
I won't spoil it. I'll just say that I liked it. I'll just keep it at that. I watched the Ted Lasso finale. Also, 2 other great shows on Apple TV. I don't know if you're Wayne. You're doing the games, but I don't know if you feel like you have to be committed to watch it. 2 other shows currently that are on that I really am enjoying. One is another comedy called Platonic with Seth Rogen and
Rose Byrne.
Rose Byrne, yes. And the other is Silo, who really I don't think there's anybody famous on that show.
It's a good
that
one.
show is really good. It comes out on Fridays, new episodes, and Platonic comes out same as Ted Lasso on Wednesdays. Yeah. Both good shows. Are you into those?
You need to add
shows?
Shrinking to your queue there.
Well, Shrinking's done for the season, but that was great. Yeah. That show was really awesome. Good. And also, what's the one? Oh my God! Where there's a work version of them and a home version of them. I can't remember the name of the show.
I don't know if I know that one.
Oh my God! Severance. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Another great Apple TV show. Check that one out if you haven't seen it. Anyway, getting back to baseball. You talk about we talk about the Angels are still in it. It's crazy right now. Everybody's still in it. Except for the A's and the Royals, every other team in baseball, even the White Sox, I believe, is within 6 games of a playoff spot. White Sox might be 7. But basically everybody's still in it because both Central divisions are awful. Outside of Kansas City and Oakland, And again, you're right, we got 2 months, but Oakland's got nobody to trade in like a dump deal because they got no good players, except for Ruiz, but he's young.
Ramon Laureano.
How much he getting for Ramon Laureano?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Laureano has been a shell of his former. I mean,
I know, but I'm still a believer in 2020, and he's still an upgrade in Cleveland over what they've got in right field.
All they do is add guys like that that are a tiny bit better.
Okay.
Go get somebody legit.
I agree, but who?
And
you just said nobody's out of it.
Kansas City's got nobody either, except for a couple. I got a couple of okay arms in the pen. Right now, there's no real sellers unless like the Cubs and White Sox fall out of it. Those teams have guys to trade, but
yeah, I do think if you're the White Sox, you're 12 games under 500, and you're 7 games out in a horrible division.
Yeah.
So in these next 7 weeks, are you going to stay right where you are? What if you stay right where you are right now? You're 6-7 back, and you're 10 games under 500. You have to decide, I think, at that point that you have a lot of good pieces, and that guys like Lucas Giolito and Lance Lynn and Tim Anderson and whoever else they want to throw in there could all be tradable and could make you a much better version of yourself. If you are 10 games under 500 and you win the AL Central at 82-80, how do you feel about your playoff chances going in to face the Yankees and the Rays and the Astros and all that? You can't feel that great. I mean, there's still a thought like the Phillies last year saying, well, you're in, you can do whatever, and that's true. But I do think that if you're a team that is on the cusp of either deciding to rebuild or at least retool or going for it, and you're 10 games under 500, I think that the right choice is to retool. So I do think some of these sellers will reveal themselves over the next several weeks, and I do think it will be a clearer picture by the end of July which teams will need to sell. I also think that because of this kind of parity, that you're going to see teams waiting a lot longer, that it will be that final week or final couple of days before things really would pick up in the trade market.
How have you felt about the pitch clock? I think a lot of people talked about it early on. People settled in a little bit. Do you think some pitchers are still struggling with that? Do you think there's any unintended consequences of the pitch clock, and how have you seen that kind of evolved in the way teams are approaching it now?
Yeah, I think for the Guardians, it shouldn't really matter at all. That is the youngest pitching staff in baseball. Quantrill's 28, and he's the oldest guy in the entire pitching roster for the Guardians. I think the older pitchers are still having some issues. We saw Lance Lynn yesterday, and he didn't look right. He was giving up a lot of home runs. He's a guy who relies on throwing a lot of fastballs, and he's got a 6.5 ERA right now. I don't know if that's all because of the pitch timer, or maybe it's because of the pitch timer, and he's 36, and he's had leg problems. I don't know, but you look around the league, and it seems like the older pitchers are the ones that have been having the harder time adjusting. I think Scherzer is still adjusting 2 months in, so it seems like it's something that's affecting the older pitchers. But I think the league's thought is, well, it's very popular with the fans. It's very popular overall with the players and front offices. So if you're struggling to get adjusted, get over it, figure it out, and be the best you can within the new rules. And this isn't going anywhere.
Wayne, what do you make of a guy like Shane Bieber, Southern California guy? I think probably that's where he'll be next year, is somewhere on the West Coast, but doesn't throw hard anymore. He's down in the 91, 92 range for the most.
Yesterday.
Yeah, for the most part, he's been effective, but his margins are so small, he's been getting hammered. I'm just wondering, what's the view on Shane league-wide, and is that a guy who's still looked at as a top-of-the-rotation ace type of pitcher?
I think that his pedigree shows that he is. I think Shane Bieber has had a really good career. He's just turned 28 yesterday, so he's really still a young pitcher. He's had a lot of success. Out of Laguna Hills High School, I'm sure some teams out there are going to be interested in Bieber. The Angels have not committed much to pitchers, and if Shohei does go somewhere else, well, all of a sudden, whatever money they thought they were going to be putting into Shohei now can go to other people. And I think Shane Bieber would be at the top of that list. I think him and Giolito are somewhat similar. Bieber's had more success than Giolito, but two guys from that area, still pretty young, still have had some really good success at the major league level. And I think that those are guys you should try to wrap your future around in some way. I don't know. I wouldn't be giving Bieber the kind of money that the top of the line Cy Young perennial candidates get. But I think as a number 2 starter, number 3 starter, I think Shane Bieber would fit into a lot of rotations. And if you trust your staff to get the most out of a guy like that, it could really work wherever he ends up.
You know, this Twins rotation has been really good. I mean, Sonny Gray's pitched well, Lopez, Joe Ryan's been awesome, and even Bailey Ober, who I believe the pitching matchup tomorrow night is Bailey Ober and Savali. For tomorrow's game, he's coming off the IL. That's been the surprise for the Twins. I think their rotation's been a lot better than at least I expected. I know overall they haven't been great, but their rotations have been really good.
Yeah, you know, I think Sonny Gray felt like he got off to a weird start last year. The lockout seemed to mess him up. He was a big part of the union's representation and didn't feel ready, and then he got traded, and then there was a lot happening there that he felt like he didn't give it his best season last year. So he really came into this year in good shape and has hit the ground running. You know, if you don't watch the National League East much and you don't pay attention to the Marlins much, you don't realize how good Pablo Lopez is.
Yeah.
And Pablo's really good. And they traded Luis Ariz to get Pablo, and there's a reason why they felt like they could make that trade. Pablo's a tremendous pitcher, and I think that he's been a big help to that rotation. Yeah, some of these other younger guys too have stepped in and done a nice job. So the Twins lost their pitching coach in the middle of last season, and they've been able to just continue right on with good pitching and with solid guys, and they're almost similar to the Guardians in the sense that they bring a couple of guys up from AAA and they look like they fit right in too.
Yeah.
We saw Ober, just like we saw Peyton Battenfield have some good starts, or Tanner Bybee for the Guardians. Louis Varland for Minnesota has had some good moments too. So I think those teams believe in their pitching. I think for the Twins, the one thing that they feel like has to make them the favorite is that they have the guys with the best offensive pedigree. You expect that you're going to get more out of Correa. You expect you're going to get more out of Buxton, although who knows with his injury history. But now Royce Lewis is back. Joey Gallo has had some ups and downs this year, but he's had more ups than he's had recently.
Yeah.
So they have to feel like they're in the driver's seat, but it doesn't seem like the Tigers are going away necessarily, although Riley Green got hurt.
Yeah.
There's still a little bit of talent there. And the Guardians, they really figured out the second half of last season how to play together and how to win. And I wouldn't sleep on them either.
Wayne, when we talk about, the history of the game, when I grew up in 94, the heyday, you had the Frank Thomas, the Ken Griffey Jr.'s, and some of those really big, huge names. You cover a guy in Mike Trout who has been, phenomenal for years. He's been the best player universally known for, I would say, whether almost a decade.
Well, not anymore.
Well,
now it's Ohtani or Judge.
Well, now they got either one or two.
Yeah.
They could have the two best players in the league. How is it that he is the most nameless and faceless star ever? Like, he's in a big market. He's in California. He's a 5'2" guy. He can play the game. He's fast. He's strong. He can hit for power. Why has he not translated on the large mega, scene?
And before you answer that, Wayne, I have to add to what G was saying. When the All-Star game was here a couple years ago, I was at the media day, and I've covered a number of NBA media days where you have to arrive 45 minutes early if you want to be within 30 rows of someone like LeBron or, Dwayne back in his heyday. Mike Trout, halfway through the session, I could just walk up and have like a one-on-one with him. I've never seen anything like it. Why?
I think there's a difference between the media and their thoughts on Mike and the fans and theirs, first of all. Second of all, to really answer your question, he hasn't won. He hasn't won anything. He hasn't won one playoff game in his career. Wow. He's been a great regular season player, and he's been in one playoff series. He came into the league in 2011. He's been in one playoff series, and they lost all 3 games.
Wow.
He hasn't won. So that's, at the end of the day, I think from a media standpoint, that's the answer. From a fan standpoint, I think he is a bigger superstar than people give him credit to be, because everywhere we go, the fans are obsessed with seeing Mike Trout. We were just in Chicago, which is where I'm from. All anybody talked to me about was that they want to see Mike. It's more than I heard that they want to see Shohei. They want to watch. They want to come out and see Trout. And I hear that in many cities that we go to. The fans are all about Mike Trout. And I think that he really does an over-the-top job in reaching out to the fans, reaching out to kids. He takes more pictures with kids, signs more autographs for kids than any superstar I've ever seen in any sport. He's really, really great with fans. I don't think he cares as much about the media and about, giving that much thought. I think he's been better over the last year or so. I think the World Baseball Classic, he kind of took some leadership in Team USA. And anytime he's given interviews this year, I think he's been a little bit more outgoing. It's never been something that's important to him, like being there for the fans or reaching out to kids is. And I think that there's a gulf between what media thinks of Mike Trout and what fans do.
Fair enough.
Wayne, we got one last one for you here. As you can tell, we like to have a little fun on this show, and as we do with Bull sometimes, we got to bring up some old memories. Bull used to call, I believe it was single A baseball, and he told us about a story of the time he called an inning while on the toilet because of the setup in single A baseball.
Did you ever call games in the New York Penn League?
No, I did the Midwest League and the Southern League.
Okay, because in the Penn League, and the Mets have the Cyclone, or they did. I don't know if the Cyclones are still in the Penn League's gone.
Yeah.
But there was a stadium in Jamestown, New York, one of the oldest stadiums in the country, and they're in the press box right next to the road team radio booth was a bathroom that you could open up the door and be looking right out on the field. And I was called, as you know, in the minor leagues, you call games by yourself most of the time. There's no partner. And so, yes, I did do an inning from the toilet once. That is true.
So my question, Wayne, not asking if you ever done one from the toilet, because I'm imagining the answer is no. I think Bull's the only person to ever do it.
He's a pro's pro.
No, but I'm saying,
I would admit it.
What's your craziest broadcasting story, maybe, as you were coming up through the ranks?
It's a good question. I've done a lot of games on like roofs of press boxes and in lane and all that. You do a lot of that when you're coming up. Doing a game on your phone because the connection's not working right. I've done that. I think one time now, Joe Davis, who does the Dodgers and does the World Series now, he was in Montgomery, Alabama doing minor league games, and I was in Mobile. So we were both in the Southern League together, and we had it was 1,000 degrees there in Alabama, and we were in the 15th inning. So the way the booths were constructed was a little sliding drive-through window between us. And so I opened it up and I asked Joe if he wanted some slushies. They were starting to give away slushies down in the concession. So he said, yeah, why not? Nobody's listening to us at that point. And so Joe was doing his broadcast for Montgomery and I was doing mine for Mobile. And you could probably hear both of us slurping on our slushies in between pitches and, slurring our words, slushie in our mouth and all that. So, remember that next time you watch a World Series game and you see Joe.
And you guys were, at least you weren't drinking from the same slushie and passing it back and forth. That would have been a little awkward.
Yeah, 2 straws, yeah.
2 straws. Yeah, right. That would have been cute. Like Lady and the Tramp, right? Yeah. Wayne, we appreciate you taking the time. We'll all watch the Guardians and the Twins tomorrow night on Apple TV. The game's at 8. What time does the pregame start? 7:30?
Yes, I believe so. 7:30, and then Dontrell Willis and I in the booth. D-Train's great. He has so much passion for the game. He loves baseball, and the players love Dontrell. When they see Dontrell Willis, they light up like a Christmas tree. So it's cool to work with the D-Train, and we'll be out there tomorrow night.
Yeah, I used to love watching him pitch.
I'm a Cubs fan, so I don't like Dontrell Willis.
Listen, I had to get over it too. I was there. I was at the Bartman game. I get
were?
it, but yeah. Wow. But I was on the right.
Can we call time and calm everybody down, please? I guess it's okay now. Whatever.
It's kind of okay now, but still, with Dontrell and I hashed it out. We had to talk through it, but we're good now.
All right, Wayne, we appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks,
see you guys.
Wayne Randazzo. He does a good job. He's a good broadcaster. And then the game's on Apple TV. Go ahead, Mikey.
You got to give us a report, by the way, on Monday or Tuesday when you're back in about how this watch party goes with a bunch of 9, 10, and 11-year-olds. So excited to see how that goes. And I'd be curious.
They'll watch for like 10 minutes.
They're gonna start cooking some more.
Pitch clock.
No,
it helps the young
they'll
kids.
be just playing tag or doing all kinds of crazy shit.
Dodgers are 2-0. We won again. Dodgers are 2-0.
We got a win last night. Monday.
Tuesday, right?
Tuesday.
How'd AJ play? It's first game.
He had a rough day.
He struck out twice. He's just over. He's trying to hit the scoreboard on
rusty.
every pitch. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a problem when you're trying to kill the ball.
Yeah, I told him he got short in the swing, dude.
Yeah.
It'll go.
Yeah.
Game 3
Right, kids
is.
don't realize that. You just got to make contact.
Yeah, I've got Game 3 Friday night. We're missing a couple kids to high school graduation though, so we'll see.
High school graduation?
They're older brothers and sisters, and the parents are making them go.
That's bullshit. What?
Hey, man.
I'd be so pissed if I were those kids.
No,
Who cares?
you got it.
You don't give a rat's ass about your brother graduating high school.
But you got it. You got to do what the family does. I'm fine with
my
it.
mom used to excuse me from everything.
That's right.
Hey, well,
Sports is a priority, man.
it was just like, hey, that's a priority. Like, we're not gonna be missing no games. We don't care what you got going on. Like, we're not gonna be at that.
And we got to juggle vacations. Like when the vacation season starts, that kills you.
The NBA Finals tip off tonight, and we
Yeah.
do have to spend at least 10 minutes here previewing and making our picks for the Denver Nuggets Miami Heat series.
Yeah.
Where do you guys want to start with this?
Well, I was listening to NBA radio. Frank Isola and Mitch. What's the other New York writer? Mitch
Lawrence.
I think it was Mitch Lawrence.
Normally he's with Scalabrine.
Yeah, Scalabrine wasn't on this morning for some reason.
All right, it's Mitch Lawrence.
I think it was Mitch Lawrence. I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember. And it was interesting. And the reason they brought this up, I hadn't heard this, but then they played the clips where Jokic was asked, like, who was the guy he looked up to in the NBA when he was coming up. Mm-hmm. And he said it was Tim Duncan. And then Michael Malone, the coach of the Nuggets, kind of compared him to Tim. Obviously, their games were a little different. Tim Duncan, wasn't handling the ball up the court.
Right.
But in terms of, like, such selfless guys.
Yeah.
Quiet superstars.
Yes. That's the
They're very
comparison.
similar in that they're
That's
in
the
the
comp.
same. They're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, I don't know
Right?
that their games necessarily are similar
Right.
at all because
No.
Duncan wasn't shooting threes like this
No,
and
not at
making
all.
them.
But the type of guy they seem to be.
Very quiet, unassuming,
Yes.
don't care about media, keep to themselves.
Like, those are the guys you want.
Yeah, it's the
Because
Nick
they
Chubb of
don't-
Cleveland.
They don't care. Like, Tim Duncan, it didn't seem. Maybe he did. It didn't seem like he cared about. Like, he didn't care about how many points he scored. He didn't care about, am I going to win the MVP? Like, he just wanted to win. That was all that mattered. That's the way at least it seemed.
Yeah, I mean look at that. That's nuts.
crazy.
He's averaging a triple double in this in these
crazy.
playoffs. And I don't expect that to go away now. Like I think he's
And
probably
he
going to
looks
end
like a guy playing rec league basketball.
I've said 100 times on the show, he'd be the last guy taken. If he showed up on a playground schoolyard game or pick him, he'd be the last dude you take.
I have to think about
He was
it.
the last pick in the All-Star
In
game.
the All-Star game.
That's embarrassing.
That's blasphemy.
That's embarrassing.
I totally agree. That's ridiculous.
He's just he's been over the top dominant. Like, and the thing I think is what's really unique about him is he does it in a different way. He's if you don't have a wing player, right? I commend Mike Malone and Spo for doing things like, all right, well, we got other players that we want to get involved. Let's open Jamal Murray up a little bit he don't need to bring the ball up the court every time. We can initiate offense with Joker. And I think that's one of the moves that I look at it. Wow, he's averaging that much too?
Porter's averaging.
I think I think it's 17.
That kid.
Okay, I'm about to say, this dude.
But still, I mean, those numbers.
I mean, he's shooting 40% for the free throw.
Murray's averaging 27.7. I'll
Okay.
get you. We got to update that. That's on.
So they got, not only is he averaging a triple-double, but their next two guys are averaging.
They've got, I think, 6 guys averaging double figures in the playoffs.
And they all pass. They all rebound. Like, everybody.
Yeah.
And
they seem like one of the most unselfish teams you've ever seen.
They run stuff, Jason. You can see the sets. You can be like, oh, let's run some action here. Like, when you watch other teams, it's like pulling teeth. It's hard to watch them. Like, every shot is contested. Every shot is just, you're getting down to 4 in the shot clock. They don't get any easy baskets. And all these guys can pass, cut. It's a different way of watching the game.
They have been probably the most disrespected, underappreciated number 1 seed in recent memory of the NBA, and I'm just as guilty of it. I thought Phoenix had beat them in the second round. I thought the Lakers were going to beat them in the conference.
I did too.
I'm done picking against the Nuggets. Like,
you can't.
They are for real, and I was so impressed watching. They outclassed the Lakers by a mile in terms of talent in that series.
Right.
And I was just guilty after Game 1, thinking it don't matter, man. The Lakers they're going to figure this out.
Yeah.
No, Denver really is that good. I think Spo is the better head coach in this series, but Michael Malone is it's only because I think Spo's the best coach in the league.
But to your point, like in the other series, the gap between Spo and the other coach was like this.
It's huge. Yeah.
Whereas, everybody agrees Spo's the best coach, but Michael Malone's probably top 5 also, right?
I don't know if he's top 5, but he's really good.
He's good enough. Top 10, definitely.
Yeah, Mike was here for a number of years as Mike Brown's assistant the first time around.
Yeah.
He's got a terrific reputation around the league. He went to the Sacramento death hole and got out of it, and now he's in Denver. But they are so good. They've got, Aaron Gordon has guarded Cat in these playoffs. He's guarded Durant. He's guarded LeBron.
Yeah.
Now he's going to be on Butler. So they've got someone, because a lot of times it's, well, who are you going to use on Jimmy? Well, they've got a guy who can guard Jimmy. I don't think there's anyone on Miami who can guard Jokic.
Right. And the important thing when it comes to Malone, too, is he's got a great relationship with his best player. And isn't that the key, ultimately?
There's a lot of trust throughout that roster.
Right.
And you have got to have buy-in and trust as a head coach, particularly in the playoffs. And he's got that. I mean, look at that. Mike's talked about that, I know, off the show, I think, throughout the series.
Yeah.
Look at those numbers. And, the altitude will play a factor, particularly in Game 1. Denver's rested. They've been off for a week. That matters.
Right.
Miami's coming off a grueling 7-game series. Now they got to go to the altitude. I think Denver would be a heavy favorite in Game 1 for that reason. I know there's the whole rest versus rust.
They're a 9-point favorite in the game.
Yeah, I know there's the whole rest versus rust argument. Give me the rest every time. Every time.
I think you mentioned this, brought this up. I don't know where this really comes from, but the whole thing about, whether or not it's going to be a good series or not.
Because it's not big teams in terms of popularity.
Where did that come from?
Everybody's always worried. The NBA's not going to like this. Who cares what the NBA likes?
It's like, dude, I watch these games because in sports, it's a way to choose a definitive winner of who is actually the best team. That's the great thing about sports. Sports sometimes, because I think the writer and the media, and I think the leagues have done a really good job of framing sports in a way that the average person can understand. We can understand good versus evil. We can understand the Yankees versus the Red Sox, the dark empires, the teams with the money or the big cities versus small cities. Yeah, like they did a really good job of framing that in a way that people can understand the context and the storylines of ins and outs of sports. But for me, as a guy who just loves sports and that played sports, all the sports growing up, to me, sports is a way you figure out who's the champion. It's about putting the work in and doing it. And who cares if it's not the Boston Celtics or Lakers every time?
Right.
The Denver Nuggets are the best team.
Yeah.
And the Miami Heat came from nothing, and they're a great team.
By the way, Miami is the biggest underdog to ever get to the finals.
It's remarkable.
Yeah.
Their story is remarkable. And all credit to them. But you're going to find out in about 2 weeks why the league doesn't want this
but we don't,
when the ratings come out.
Right, the ratings are going to be crappy, but I don't care about that.
Well, no, but you're an avid sports fan. People who love the NBA and people who love sports in general are going to watch.
Yeah.
But that's not that big of a majority of the numbers are going to be low on
Same
this
thing
series.
with hockey. They got unexciting. Not that hockey's as big as
NFL
basketball.
doesn't matter. You're going to watch Super Bowl.
Right, it's the only sport that doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's the only sport that doesn't matter.
But baseball, basketball, it matters.
Right.
Markets matter.
Right, exactly. Go ahead, Mikey.
We did a top 5 that we have to get in today because it's the storylines to watch in the finals.
Okay.
So we're going to do 5 storylines that you have to be paying attention to as these two teams duke it out over the next at least 4 games. The first one and the least serious of all of them. Are you guys ready? I bet you don't even know this exists. How about the Nikola Jokic-Nikola Jovic matchup in the finals? The Miami Heat's first-round pick this year is Nikola Jovic, whose favorite player growing up was Nikola Jokic. Jovic won't play. Jokic is obviously the favorite to win MVP. What? Almost the exact same name. I bet you didn't know it existed.
Crazy.
First of all, I don't care, but it's not a top 5 storyline.
Yes, it is, because the other 4 are combined, really.
Because they got the same name?
Same name.
It's cool. It's fine.
It's a cool nugget, but not a top 5 storyline. But all right, whatever.
Bull has it at 8.
You're going to notice some of these nuggets, they're condensed in multiple
hungry. I
nuggets
want
in
some
one
nuggets.
nugget. Okay,
Right.
number 4, a little more serious. How about the Tyler Hero watch? So he hasn't played since Game 1 of the first-round series against Milwaukee, and Miami hasn't needed them. They were 27th.
He's not playing Game 1. They already said it.
No, he's potentially coming back for Game 3. I said he hasn't played since Game 1 in Milwaukee. Miami was 27th in the league in three-point percentage this year during the regular season, which is the lowest of any team to ever make the finals since the three-point percentage and the three-point revolution has happened. Without him, they've been on fire. They're the best three-point shooting
shooting out of their minds
in the playoffs. And when I was in Dallas last month filming that pilot, Devin Harris told me, he's like, hey, the Heat are better without Tyler Hero. He's fine in the regular season when no one plays defense anyway. But when teams lock in, Hero does his own offense. The other four guys on Miami play within the system. It's going to be interesting to see how they try to fold him back into the mix because they need firepower to keep up with Denver. But I'm not sure Hero coming back this late after Caleb Martin stepped up, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent. I'm not sure how they're going to.
Yeah, I'm not cutting Caleb Martin's minutes the way he's playing.
I'm just not sure these guys. I'm just not sure these guys are going to keep shooting the way that they have. Eventually, there's going to be regression to the mean, and the Heat just haven't been a very good shooting team. I'm with Mike. I think they need Hero.
Well, I'll look at it this: what does it mean if the Heat win?
We'll get there. Don't we're getting there.
Yeah. All right. Number 3.
Number 3, the Nuggets have been a franchise for 47 years. They have never made the finals. They are looking for the first championship in franchise history. And Jason alluded to that altitude. They are 42-7 at home this season. They haven't lost at home in the playoffs.
They've won by double figures. The average margin is double figures in the playoffs at home.
And for a franchise that's had a lot of pretty solid players, like Jokic is the best player they've ever had, but they've had some pretty good players throughout their tenure of their franchise. The fact they've never been to a finals in 47 years is unfathomable, and this is probably their best chance.
Was last year the first time the Colorado Avalanche got? Because they won the Stanley Cup last year.
No, Patrick Roy.
Patrick Waugh.
Yeah. I think they won like 2.
Oh, yeah?
Joe Sakic. Look at that. Colorado Avalanche historian Mike Lucas right here.
Impressive.
Number 2. G mentioned this. I combined about 7 things into one bullet point, and it's simply Heat culture. An 8 seed has never won the title. Miami's looking to become the first. If they could, and if they do, that would cement Jimmy Butler's status as one of the all-time great playoff performers and would cap off a historically phenomenal playoff run, catapulting him from that mid-level tier. You know, most people throughout the season thought he was top 12 to 15 in that range. I don't think you could start any list without him being in the top 5 or 6 if they are to pull this off. No doubt. Trivia question for you guys based on Heat culture. 6 coaches in NBA history have 3 rings. 6. Spo's looking to become the 7th. Can you name the 6 who currently have 3?
Phil Jackson.
Correct.
Pat Riley.
Correct.
Pop.
Correct.
Casey Jones.
No.
Auerbach.
Correct.
Oh,
2 more.
How did I not get that one?
You said how many rings?
2 more. At least 3.
Casey Jones didn't win 3?
No. 1 obvious, 1 not so obvious.
One obvious.
You guys have named Phil Jackson.
Steve Kerr.
There's the obvious.
Oh, yeah. Duh.
And one more who, I'll be honest, I had never heard of this guy.
Is it somebody from like the 50s or 60s?
Yes. John Kundla, who coached the Minneapolis Lakers.
Yeah,
we
would have never heard that. Freaking know that.
So look at that list. That is the elites of the elite coaches. A lot of phenomenal coaches, including Casey Jones, have won 2. Very, 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 very few have ever won 3
championships.
Who?
Larry Bird.
As a coach?
No, as a player.
This is just a coach, though.
No, he's saying he was the coach.
I thought Casey Jones was his coach every year, but I guess not. Unless he didn't win 3 championships. I thought he did.
I don't know.
I will double and triple check that. I checked 2 different places yesterday on this
Red
stat.
Auerbach still the coach for when he first came in the league?
For,
I don't think so.
Not in the 80s.
Yeah.
He was gone by then, I think.
But either way, if we do add, and I'll double check, but this was was from an ESPN article, and then I double checked it because I had to look up who John Kundla was.
I certainly am wrong.
And think back to the first year when LeBron was in Miami and people wanted Spo fired because LeBron bumped his shoulder and the disrespect and, you know, how ridiculous that was.
Right, yeah.
And now look where Eric Spoelstra is today.
Hey, everybody, now if you coach, you can win a championship or get to the finals, you'd be fired in the next year.
Well, not Spoelstra.
And I mean, to the Heat's credit, not a lot of people stood up to prime LeBron.
That's true.
And he's my guy, but sometimes you got to stand up to him. And Pat Riley said, that is your coach. You go play for him.
Right. Good.
And look where it got him.
Maybe if LeBron should have had more of that in his career.
Well, I'm glad he boycotted David Blatt. Yeah. That was the right move.
Yeah. Bird won only 2 championships?
Casey Jones only won 2, 84 and 86.
Did Bird win 3 as a player?
Stand by.
Yes.
I know he didn't win any as a coach.
Larry Bird, 3-time champion, 81, 84, 86.
So who was the
not
coach in 81? Was it still Red Auerbach?
Maybe it was Red.
84. Who's the coach?
81.
81.
81. That's what I'm sorry. Who's the coach? We'll tell you in overtime.
All right.
I'm going to have to look.
Do we have a number one here? Or
yeah, we do have number one.
Yeah.
We touched on it earlier a little bit, but Jokic's legacy. We talked about where he fits in the all-time center pantheon already.
Yeah.
He's top 6, 7. He wins a ring. He is right in the middle with the guys, and on a trajectory at least, to be right in the conversation with the all-time great.
Shaq has 4.
I think right now you got to say he's the best player in the NBA, don't you?
Yes.
He is to me. I mean, I don't have a vote. He would have been my vote. I'm not just saying that now. He'd have been my vote.
There's
for
no
MVP.
team in.
Bill Fitch was the coach. Bill Fitch.
Bill Fitch. Oh, God. I forgot about that.
Celtics coach.
Bad job out of me.
62 and 20 that year.
All right, we'll see you on overtime. Coming up next.
I got to call my wife.
Jason's got to call his wife
Told to
about.
call my wife.
Real quick.
What's with that woman showing her movies?
Anyone picking the Heat? Real quick. Anyone picking the Heat?
No.
No.
Nuggets 6.
6.
4-1 Nuggets.
See ya.